We've got some fun content because I discovered that Sam Cedar had a debate with Jillian Michaels. Um, which I guess if you guys don't know her, she's like a producer for the TV show The Biggest Loser, a reality TV show that aired back in the day where basically they took a bunch of fat people, encouraged them to lose weight and put them through hell in order to do it. Um and afterwards, there was a lot of weird allegations about things that went on there behind the scenes. And then the fact that many of the people who did manage to lose weight regained it and stuff. But in any case, now she's like a sort of Maha mega person or something. Yes, this is going to hurt. Let's have fun, guys. I'm actually curious. I want to know what they both think about Ukraine. Like, is Sam going to be the one making reasonable arguments about Ukraine? Because they talk about that in here, as well as Iran and other stuff. Because I don't know if these people are both, like, I know Jillian, I think, she's like a Trump supporter, and I think she supports Israel. So they'll probably have disagreements about that. But I don't know what, like, in terms of other stuff. So, yeah, I'm curious. Let's go.
Balanced perspective. I want to give you a more balanced perspective. They don't show up. They don't show up. So for the love of God, anybody who is brave enough, throw your hat in the ring.
To that woman from The Biggest Loser, go F yourself. Go take your maha and shove it up your ass.
There are so many differences that it's staggering. We had boots on the ground in Iraq, and there were no weapons of mass destruction. Here, we don't have boots on the ground, and there's 60% enriched uranium, and they're funding terror proxies. Night, meet day. All right, guys, you've been asking me to provide more diverse perspective in the show, and I've also wanted to provide you with that. So I put out a public call for guests with different viewpoints. Well, the guy who answered that call is Sam Cedar, host of The Majority Report. Now, I can't exactly ton of with Jillian Michaels. Sam Cedar, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming, first of all.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so this all came about because I asked for people with oppositional views or opposing views to come on and talk with me and talk with the audience. My audience actually has requested consistently to get a more diverse perspective, and I have said that it's not so easy because not a lot of people will show up for it, even when I'm totally neutral on the position.
By the way, this is bullshit. I wonder, like, this is actually, like, 99% of the time when these guys say this, it is not true. And I will say this because I know when I speak, or, like, because I've watched Destiny's experience, where, like, there are so many people who say they want to talk to people who disagree with them, and then Destiny raises his hand, and they will not have him on. Because that they don't really want to talk to people who disagree with them, at least not fully, or who would actually call them out on their bullshit to an extent that they don't want to put up with. You know, like Tim Pool will no longer talk to Destiny. He was only willing to talk to him when he was like in his, I'm going to try to be nice to conservatives phase. And once he stopped doing that, everybody was like, we're never talking to you again. Like these guys like Ben Shapiro, you know, all of those other folks. I'm amazed that Dave Rubin basically would only ever talk to Destiny when he's on Piers Morgan, where Piers can, like, you know, be the moderator, and when he's got like two other conservative guests or whatever. Is it not what she is doing now? Oh no, Marcus, it is what she's doing now. And this is definitely going to be an adversarial conversation. But the thing is, that I'm curious how different these two are in certain ways. You know what I mean? Because if it turns out from this conversation that both of them are populists, then I feel like that kind of makes it be slightly different. But we'll see where this goes. Because, like, it looks to me from the outside like this is basically just going to be two extremist idiots arguing with each other. Yeah, we will see, because I don't, but, you know, like, it's honestly quite a bit less interesting when it's literally just two populist morons fighting, which is probably what this is going to be, but I don't know exactly where Jillian Michaels is at, so let's find out. I don't want to, like, guess too much. I'm just saying that in general what she's saying, like, they all say this, and it's almost always never true.
Position. So in the video I talked about wanting somebody to come on from pro-life, pro-choice. I see both sides of it, wanting a doctor who's anti-vax and pro-vax. A host of different individuals have asked them to come on and been unsuccessful largely. I also did ask for when people, when they sling pejoratives and ad hominem attacks, to say it to my face, and you were kind enough to step up for that. You are the first. So, SOT number 3, guys. I wanted to litigate some of this stuff first.
Oh, well, I should just say that was not what I was responding to. Was your video where you said that nobody would show up. I was actually interested in revisiting our exchange on Piers Morgan from a year ago.
Promise you we will. That's why I'd like some of your time. Okay, SOT 3.
To that woman from The Biggest Loser, go F yourself. Go take your maha and shove it up your ass. Go F yourself. She now has a YouTube influencer channel. Even bigger loser. Everybody knows I like to keep it real. That's a perfect show for me to go on.
Is this a meeting of the Gay Straight Alliance?
Just
kidding. They're both gay. They're both gay.
Snake oil. The snake oil salesman talking about politics.
Totally.
I'm sure she read that book 2 weeks
Did
ago.
it have pictures?
Here's someone who quit her show because of criticism of Israel was happening.
Talk to me about Islam. Tell me where we're getting it wrong.
Oh, was she the one who walked out because she was so okay? I couldn't remember. She was on that show's called Her Take, which is like a show with like a bunch of different women, like women political pundits, and Anna Kasparian was on that show, and Anna made everything about Israel. Yeah, she was the one who rage quit on Anna Kasparian. Yeah, I'm not really terribly surprised by that because, like, Anna is fucking obsessed with Israel, and I completely would get it if people would be annoyed about that. Also, I think Jillian Michaels is Jewish, and she probably, you know, read the anti-Semitism, and it kind of hits a lot harder when you're Jewish. And Anna is most definitely anti-Semitic.
Please come on my show and justify why Muslims aren't bad.
Wrote it 3 hours ago.
Nothing. Have we heard back anything?
Nothing yet.
Oh my God.
She's a fool.
Her role in media is to defend Israel. I think she's a TERF, right? So she doesn't like trans people and thinks it takes away from feminism, and then is also a Maha person.
They want to get rid of free lunches in schools.
Both here and in Africa, which I know I care about both. She cares about neither, but is pretending to care about the kids in America.
Okay. Well, so first let me address the fact that I'm sorry I did not get back to you within 3 hours.
You got great producers.
Well, you gave us a lot to work with, Sam. Having said that, I'm sorry to get back to you within 3 hours. A man of your stature, I apologize. But your followers spammed the email I put out. Sot number 2.
Not sure how to reach you, but if you're so inclined, have someone from your office email.
Oh God, the fucking Vanguard. Look, I know I've got crazy, but I am refined crazy. She was the one who rage quit. Yeah.
Email our podcast line, and then she puts her email there. If you want to send her an email, now you know what her address is. So go wild with that shit.
And they did. Graphic number 1.
You know, hold on for 1 second.
Yeah.
You know, those guys are on a completely different podcast.
I totally get it, but it seems like they're your followers, though. They like you quite a bit, along with, like, I didn't even know Hassan Piker calls you Uncle Sam.
They do a show about beefs, but I
guess so. Yeah. How are you too poor to host this email address on your own website when you've been nothing but a grifter your entire professional career? I'll listen off air, thanks. I don't really know what that part means.
Was that my dad?
It's one of your fans. Then I heard the progressive host of the Majority Report, Sam Keeping It Real Cedar, would be happy to debunk.
All right, I don't care about this.
I'm not sure. You're
just saying.
You're joking.
Thank you for being here. I think I would honestly say to you off the top, given all of that.
Are you gay?
Well, I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about it? I watched you make fun of gay people now, including Benny Johnson and Steven Crowder, which is weird because
Benny Johnson is not gay. Benny Johnson was slamming trans people.
Oh,
is he not gay?
He's not gay.
He's not.
He's not. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's a little confusing.
No, but you've insulted him utilizing that context, which is so weird. Like, why
what do you mean?
Okay.
Oh, you mean like I said he's closeted?
Like, oh, he's gay. But like,
I don't think I.
People don't understand this. I feel like Destiny explained this as well, too, after that dumb thing came out in the New York Times about Gavin Newsom calling people gay and how, like, progressives were mad about it and shit. Like, super far lefty people were angry. And I think really they were just angry because it was Gavin Newsom that was doing it. But, and if, like, one of their own did it, I don't think they would care as much. That being said, I mean, I saw similar things. I remember, it was a long time ago. It was during Trump term 1. Stephen Colbert made a joke about how Donald Trump was Vladimir Putin's cock holster, and people got mad at him for that and said he was being homophobic. But I don't think you understand. And like, I feel like I've had this criticism for a while too. Like, I feel the same way as Destiny does about this. It's essentially that, like, the reason why these insults work and the reason why you're not really being homophobic here when you say them is because the people that you are insulting with this insult don't like gay people. So you're literally trying to say something that you know is going to get them. It's the same thing as when you accuse red pillars of hypocrisy, or you attack them for not, like, following their trad lives, or like when you look at, like, trad women influencers who talk about how women should be in the kitchen and should be, like, having children and shit, and you're like, but you don't have children and you're childless. What the fuck? Why aren't you married and in the kitchen? You're not literally advocating that, like, women should be in the kitchen and married. You're, like, honing in on a specific thing that comes back to the beliefs that they have. So yeah, this is where all the jokes come from about like you know, how Grinder always crashes whenever CPAC is going on and shit. Because Republicans are closeted gay people.
But
He's
you
gay.
did.
So it's like,
You did.
like,
And you did it to Crowder as well. But that's,
I do think. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty well documented that Benny Johnson is. I mean, certainly not. I'm not the only person to bring that up at all. A lot of right wingers have been more explicit about it than I have. Crowder.
I think the part of the reason why people will do certain things like that with regards to Steven Crowder is because he's done a lot of, like, Steven Crowder has, like, dressed in drag to try to go to I think a women's only gym, and he's pulled all kinds of weird stunts that, you know what, like, and he's like a conservative, so you know what, fair game, I guess, if people want it. There's also apparently rumors about him being a chaser, but I don't know how true that is.
Crowder, yes, I do think that Crowder is suppressing some things, and his ex-wife sort of like hint around it. But I'm just asking because somebody wrote that to you in the thing, and I wasn't aware that you were gay. If you are,
I am. You are gay. You talked about it in the thing. You've talked about it numerous times, actually.
What, that you're gay?
You've talked about it numerous times on your show, Sam.
I mean, honestly,
and there are many things that you get.
I was surprised there was that many clips that we talked about you over the past year. But I think let me just say the first one, where I was telling you to f off.
We're gonna get there.
Was a response. Well, I mean, you put.
We're gonna get there. I promise you, we are going to get there.
I should just say, within some proximity of that video, that specifically was when the first report of the tens of thousands, now hundreds of thousands of children, but also adults who have died as a result of the cuts of USAID.
You want to talk about that study? We can start there. You're wrong.
Oh, I'm happy to start there.
All right.
So we should play the clip of when you were on.
I promise you we are going to. I promise you.
Let's do that.
I want to litigate some of the.
Wait, is she really saying that it's not true that tons of kids will, a lot of people, when I confront them with this, they whine about how it's projected, as if that means that, like, those numbers aren't going to come true or that they don't mean anything. I mean, people are already saying that the Ebola outbreak was worse than it would have been if not for, like, because of the loss of the USAID funding, or the fact that all those soup kitchens that were run by USAID in Sudan are gone now, and this contributes to people dying and people going hungry there. Certainly, USAID getting cut has had an impact on Ukraine, because there are various things that USAID provided in Ukraine, like shelter and whatnot for internally displaced people or internal refugees, that they no longer provide, and so now Ukraine has had to get other stuff. Plus, also the support for independent media, which makes it harder for independent media in the country. The numbers, it's been reevaluated downward. Oh yeah, maybe it has, but it's still, I still think it's bad. I still don't think that it's fucking good that they are that they cut it, because the amount of money that it cost, it just, I feel like the soft power was just worth it. Like, it just, USAID did a lot of good, even if they did some bad too, mostly during the Cold War.
Some of the other stuff you said first, though, if it's okay.
Wait, is this really going to be just about, like, your feelings are hurt?
No.
And also, most of what they did during the Cold War was because, you know, the CIA kind of just ran around doing all kinds of crazy shit.
No, it's proving a pattern that you either don't fact check your information, you mischaracterize things, you lie by omission. And
actually, I'm gonna ask the Clanker about the USAID stuff.
I can give you so many different examples. It's staggering. SOT 9, everybody.
You've seen Iranian people in the streets here telling everybody, listen to what we are saying to you. Mamdani sounds like the Ayatollah.
Wait a second. There are Iranian people in the U.S. in the streets of the U.S. saying that Mamdani sounds like the Ayatollah?
I'm assuming in 1979, like they're saying, like leading up to the revolution?
I guess.
What? No. The Ayatollah was in exile in Paris, I believe, when the revolution hit.
I mean, the people that have a lot of credibility right now is the conservative Iranian diaspora. Yeah, let's see what they have to say.
And I would like for some specifics about what Mamdani has said that makes him sound like the Ayatollah.
A lot of people picked their Mamdani 47 years ago in Iran, which was Khomeini at that time. If you watch if you just listen to what Mamdani said in
Okay, I just asked it a very simple neutral prompt. What is the impact of USAID cuts? So we'll just see what it has to say, and then I'll ask it about whether or not there's been any issues with the numbers, depending on what it gives me, or, like, I guess I'll just ask in general. Also, it's probably going to include PEPFAR in there too.
in New York, it's verbatim what Khomeini said 47 years ago in the Islamist lefty committee at that time, and people got fooled because it was at the end of 70s, and they just wanted to be hippies and free, and that's.
Oh yeah, the Ayatollah was quite a bit like he lied about certain things that he believed when he was trying to, yeah. I think I recall Loner talking about that. He knows way more about this. There is a Lancet paper about those cuts, I believe. Is it an actual, like, peer-reviewed paper, Arthur, as opposed to whatever the fuck that weird one about the Gaza projected cuts were?
And that's how it looked like at that time for Iran. So they picked a Khomeini that was supposed to just come and help people have free everything and give the oil money.
How could you say no to? How could you say no to free everything?
Free and all of that. And you watch what he says and listen to Mamdani.
It's an article, not a study. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I don't know. We'll see.
Iranian people on social media telling us over and over and over again.
For a second there, I thought that was Erica Kirk. I guess tell me that I hate white women now or something, and that they all look the same to me.
Again, that the way Mamdani speaks in New York City is exactly the way the Ayatollah was speaking in Iran.
Also, I just want to say, this doesn't really mean that much to me. Like, yeah, the Iranians know how to speak the language of the West, or like of Western leftists, because they learned it, or not but like these particular Iranians, because they learned it from the fucking Soviets. Just like the just like the PLO learned it from the Soviets. And Hamas, you know, they all learned it from the Soviets. It's all this same sort of language. They know how to speak this language. I mean, fuck, holy shit. There was, goddamn it, there was something, at the UN, I think Iran's representative made some insane remark that was like pure distilled leftism. Or pure undistilled leftism, I guess. But I can't remember exactly what it was now. I think that it was right after the attacks started or something. It was very funny. Like the language that they used just was very leftist. It was like something about imperialism or something. Like, I don't know, but these guys will use these kinds of things. Oh, this lady's name is Liz Wheeler? Oh, okay. Didn't Trump say Americans will have so much money they won't know where to spend these? Oh, hello, Hedonic Samuel. Thank you for the membership for 3 months. Catterday, you know what to do, folks. True. Hug your cats. Okay.
Word for word, verbatim.
So this is the promises Khomeini made back in 1979, pre-start 1979. Look at this. He has promised free water, free electricity, and free buses. Now, does that sound...
What? This is so weird. What a weird criticism to make of Mamdani. Oh my god, he promised the same thing that the Ayatollah did? What? Yes, only the regime was anti-Soviet. But that didn't mean that, like, before he came to power, that the Ayatollah was saying certain things that, you know... And also, yes, Chase, I'm aware that my lips are out of sync. But unfortunately, there's not really much of anything that I can do about that. I'm sorry. The only reason why my camera is on is for Stuart. Like, that's it. Populism with Shia characteristics. Yeah. That doesn't mean that, like, yes, the Iranian does not like, the Iranian regime are anti-communist and they don't like the Soviets. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to, you know, kowtow to the Soviet, or that doesn't mean that they aren't going to use, the language of Western leftism that, that all of these guys would have learned from the Soviets. Yeah, you know what? You know what's funny about that, M-Baths? You know who else? There was like a shitload of Arab countries that were non-aligned, but they still got help from the Soviets. Like I believe, like, Nasser was part of the non-aligned movement, and the Soviets still gave him, like, weapons and money and shit. Did I miss anything? No, not really, Chase, although this is the content that I'm sure that you will want me to react to. This is Jillian Michaels debating Sam Cedar. This is our slop content. Yeah, I guess this is a creative criticism of Mamdani. This is just real stupid, though. Like, this is like if my criticism of Donald Trump, or no, I'm sorry, this is like if my criticism of Nick Fuentes was, oh my god, he wants to give people free healthcare, just like Hitler did. Except the difference is, of course, that wanting to give people free health, it's not that they want to give people free healthcare, it's that they only want to give certain people free healthcare.
Sound familiar?
That's why you see the Persians, especially the Persian Jews, being so loud in America right now, because we lived this. It wasn't necessarily our parents or our grandparents or great-grandparents with the Holocaust. This was us. Like,
this is a really dumb criticism of Mamdani. Like, I mean, who cares? That's not a good, whatever. Because that's not, I'm sorry, but if the Ayatollah did in fact give people free buses and like free water and all that shit, that's not what made him bad. But I guess because these people think the government doing anything is bad, it means they're gonna kind of like blur it all together.
I lived that. My parents lived that. We escaped that.
So what is the red? Who's red and who's green?
So basically, it's the Islamists joining hands with the communists.
There are numerous clips like this, Sam, and it's okay if you don't agree. It's okay if you.
What's the name of that first woman on the street?
Also, the Islamists joining hands with the Zionists or with the Islamists. That's not. Sorry, the Islamists joining hands with the leftists, I guess, like the Red Green Alliance. The reason why the Red Green Alliance is a weird problem it's got nothing to do with so for example, I could actually imagine probably that so in Iran, or I can imagine that leftists might look at the Ayatollah. Like, I bet that if I go through Zaysquirrel's posts, because I know that she has posted a whole bunch of shit defending the Iranian regime and Khomeini and shit. I bet that if I were to go through her posts, I bet one of the things that she would do is she would probably talk about how amazingly cool it was that that Khomeini nationalized the oil industry and that like he provided all these government services to people and shit. I bet that like she would think that that was based, because the leftists will do that kind of thing too. But I mean, the whole like Red Green Alliance thing is really more about just the fact that Islamists hate the West and leftists hate and tankies hate the West too. Did you hear Reuters apparently reported that a Ukrainian drone attack hit and killed civilians in the Donbass? No, I did not hear about that, but I mean, unfortunately, I mean, I'm guessing that was either an accident, or they were aiming for some other target and there happened to be civilians there and it was collateral damage. I don't know. Leftists hate the West. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. Yes, yes, most leftists do hate the West. When I say leftists, I mean like socialist and communist people, and also like some progressives. A lot of progressives, I guess, but it depends. Like Kyle Kalinske. Although I don't know right now. Like I'm sure that if there was like a communist revolution or what, I don't know, whatever. There are many Islamists in the ME who were formerly communists. It's an easy transition. Yeah, of course it is. Oh, what about the strike, Arthur?
I don't know. An Iranian protester in the street. One of many. I can give you many different sites if you like. I can pull up different posts that have names on it.
What is the argument? That
Here's the argument.
In offering free buses, that Mamdani is like the Ayatollah?
You're more than welcome, by the way, to have that argument with me. But the fact is,
let's not talk about let's have that argument.
Well,
explain to me
argument.
What communist things that Mamdani has
graphic number 3, guys.
Oh my God. Communism is when the government does stuff.
These are the parallels.
No, wait. Let's just
but you're asking the parallels. I'm telling you what they're citing.
What communist policies has Mamdani proposed?
This is what they are citing, Sam. What they are saying is that the parallels.
What Islamist policies? Answer me.
Sam, he's a Muslim, correct?
I think the Islamist policies is a better question. Yeah, I'm probably going to be on Sam Cedar's side for this part of the discussion because this is fucking stupid. Trying to say that Mamdani's going to push Islamist policies is ridiculous. Or like this notion that Mamdani is a secret Islamist is fucking insanely stupid. Mamdani is like so fucking progressive. Like insanely so.
Correct? Is he a Muslim?
Like he's like a super duper ultra leftist who also just happens to be a Muslim.
He's a Muslim, correct? And this is you're saying I'd like to know what they're comparing. I'm telling you, guys.
No, I'm asking you right now. What communist? Let's argue the validity of these points.
I'm fine having you come on to talk about that, but what's not okay is you calling me an idiot saying it didn't happen.
I do.
It did happen. All you have to do is Google it.
The judgment is still reserved. Yes, you can find a random.
Yeah, Mokid, I agree. Anti-Zionism is an Islamist policy, but it's not. It's also a leftist policy. Anti-Zionism is not purely Islamist, and I don't think Mamdani's anti-Zionism comes from Islamism. I think it comes from the fact that he's a leftist.
random person on the street
Sam, I
saying
showed you
anything. We can
numerous
find
clips.
dead
Guys,
entities. You
graphic
showed me
2,
5.
graphic 4, graphic
So
3.
Give
me any one of these.
Here is but you're avoiding the actual
I'm not
point
avoiding
here.
the question, Sam.
Yes.
If we were going.
There is no doubt the Iranian diaspora, they also told us that the Iranian government would fall. They also encouraged a war attacking Iran. Not all of the diaspora, but certainly large elements of it. So their credibility, let's talk about the actual issue that
Yeah, because that they would like their country to be free, so that maybe potentially they might be able to go home. Because right now their country's awful, and it's not a repressive government that like just killed like 30,000, or well, I'll just say tens of thousands of protesters because we don't actually have the number. He's progressive. He will do leftist shit. The Jews need to just keep our to ourselves and make sure we are safe. I mean, that sucks. I don't want to say that that's what you need to do. You shouldn't have to do that. You know, I'm just saying, I don't think Mamdani's anti-Semitism, like, part of it probably comes from the fact that he's Muslim, but a large part of it, especially, like, also comes from the fact that he's a leftist. I think Islamism and socialism are in the same coalition, but they're not, Mokid. Islamists kill socialists. Hezbollah has killed socialists in Lebanon. They are not in the same coalition, except for like in the case of like, unless they're doing enemy of my enemy is my friend shit. Like the PFLP will team up with Hamas in Gaza, but the PFLP is also tiny, and so Hamas doesn't feel threatened by them. So like, why wouldn't they team up with them, you know? But yeah, and also, by the way, once the Ayatollah came to power, what did he do? He killed the socialists and the anarchists. Like, he doesn't like communism. These guys don't like communists. So no, they're not on the same team. That's why it's funny when you see all these crazy blue-haired leftists talking about like free Palestine and like cheering on Hamas and shit, when if they were to go to Gaza, they would be killed by Hamas. Yes, Smokey, I know they're in the same coalition, but like their ideologies don't actually line up. That's the thing. Like, socialists are useful idiots to Islamists, sure. But I feel like that's different than saying that like they're on the same team or whatever. They're only on the same team in so much as that like Islamists can use socialists. But yeah. The sloppiest of slop takes come from Asani, basically said we deserve Pearl Harbor. Did he say that? I didn't really get that out of that clip, but I don't know, whatever. I wonder if they're actually going to be able to talk, or like if Sam is going to be able to get a point across, or if Jillian's going to keep yelling over him, or what exactly it is. Like, are these guys actually going to exchange any words properly?
That you're out there saying that. That
okay, I'll give you an example of something that concerns me.
A communist.
Here's something that concerns me.
Give me one.
I'll give you an example. Here's a perfect example. Okay, there's a video, and I can drop it in. I can send it to you of Mamdani at a mosque, seeming perfectly lovely.
Hassan did say the Japanese Empire was like the Nazis, and he was right. They were like the Nazis of Asia.
Ringing in the new year in the mosque for the first time, he gets off stage, and they swiftly call for death to the infidels. That freaks me out, Sam.
We pray daily for your success in this journey, inshallah. Thank you.
Wait, is this like is this some sort of Muslim like fuck, I don't know how to describe any of this. I wish Sev was here to explain this because
في جملة أوليائك والفرج فيه للمؤمنين على يديك وقتل الكافرين بسيفك.
Like, I'm sorry.
Who does?
The exact imam, he gets off stage, and the guy immediately says a prayer that calls for death to the infidels by sword. That freaks me out, Sam. It freaks.
Is that what? Okay. Oh yeah, no, I know. Memory TV does obviously clip like things that like crazy shit. I'm not saying they're unreliable or whatever, but well, no, I'm not even gonna say that it's out of context or what have you. It's just that I suppose what I mean is that I would be very careful about reading things into like prayers from Islam, because people don't always take all of that stuff literally. And it's like, like some Muslims view what jihad is very differently than other Muslims, you know? And it, yeah. But I don't know if that's a common prayer or if that's the kind of prayer that you would normally hear at a lot of different mosques. I would have to ask Sev about that. Because he could probably explain if that's like a prayer that a lot of Muslims say, or if it's like a less common one or what have you. Jihad is like going to the gym. I mean, I've heard people say that. Yeah, like I'm gonna declare, or like my jihad is going to the gym in order to like maintain like a healthy weight or whatever. You know. Yeah, I guess that's what I mean though, right? That's the issue that I often have with people like because you can do that shit with Christianity too. You can pull crazy quotes out of the Bible and then point at them and act like most Christians believe this shit when most of them don't, or they have a very different reading of it than whatever the literal reading is. And I do think that like being like a literalist for any religion is generally not a good idea. But yeah, people do view religion differently. And some people will ignore certain parts of their religion, or they will kind of shrug it off, you know? Like, Sev is incredibly chill. And like he even said that, I think he's told so many stories on Loner Stream. He said that like he thought that he and the rest of his family thought it was incredibly cringe when his brother was trying to like do weird shit in order to try to like get Loner and Destiny and the other people with him to convert to Islam, because he said that that's not usually a thing that they tend to do in Israel, you know, and that you're not necessarily going to find that everywhere in like all kinds of Muslim countries. Although the direct translation being struggle doesn't help, you know what? Yeah, I know, but like you can use that in so many different ways. But yeah. Vaguely remember something about this. Yeah, I remember that story. Which Christian were you? Me? I was a Catholic. Catholicism is a real funny one, because when I was in school, there were some there was like a few people that were quite very Catholic. Like much more conservatively Catholic, but most of the people that I knew, including my family, basically their Catholicism was expressed thusly: I'm Catholic. You know, like it was just kind of like very moderate. Like the only time that we went to church was Christmas and Easter. And honestly, generally speaking, the only reason why I went to church on days that were not those days was literally because my parents sent me to a Catholic school, and so like they would force us to go to Sunday mass like once every few months or whatever. And when I got into high school, because it was easier to do so, we like me and my friends sometimes would literally just sneak out and like not, instead of going to mass, and we would walk over to the nearest Tim Hortons or whatever, because that like there was one near the school. And it got to a point where so many people were doing that the teachers would stand guard at all the doors to stop us from leaving. But yeah, we always got to go to Pizza Hut after. Oh, nice. But I also, honestly, I kind of liked going to, I actually really enjoyed going to Christmas Mass, because there were some really, really cool hymns that we would sing that I was quite fond of, you know, and I liked to sing along with them and whatnot. And so all that stuff was really fun. But yeah, I would be incredibly wary of like looking at, passages or whatever that people are reciting as part of a religion and like coming up to, because yeah, I mean, even Seb came on, I think, and he explained like martyrdom and how it's generally viewed by like most normal Muslims in comparison to like how it is often viewed by Hamas. Yeah, Christmas and Easter, yeah. Seeking out of the mass to make your pilgrimage to Canadian church. True! Okay.
Freaks me out,
and so that's your evidence that Mamdani isn't Islamic.
No, Sam.
This is like harking back to when Barack Obama was a member of the Weather Underground,
Sam,
because of Bill Ayers, or because of
he's a Muslim
his reverend.
Okay, he's sworn on the Quran. He's a self-proclaimed Muslim, which is totally fine. But he has some radical
positions. Are you aware of what's in the Old Testament, in the Torah?
Sam, I've actually had scholars on to compare both texts. And if we talk about a religious war and a jihad, it's confined in the Old.
Oh, are you talking about fuck, what is it? That one Ukrainian Christmas carol that everyone uses? I actually don't know if we sang that or not, but I know that song. It's a really great song.
the Old Testament to the Canaanites. And that's because they were
Amalek?
sacrificing babies. So it's not an ongoing holy war or jihad. And I'm not saying that that's what Mom Donnie is recommending.
Oh, you're not?
Sam, you blatantly got caught in a lie just now. And there are so
What's
many
the lie
others.
that I got caught?
Well, you claimed I was an idiot and it wasn't happening, but it is happening.
I think we haven't resolved that.
All right. Well, how about this one? How about this one? There's so many of these, but buckle up. So, SOT number 5 is Anna Kasparian. We're going to play it up in a second. And Amy Dangerfield.
When you stormed off your show with her?
Actually,
Oh, Amy Dangerfield. Oh, man.
I am, because here's your claim, right? Your claim is that I paid to defend Israel. I'm more than happy.
Oh, Amy Dangerfield is on Her Take, isn't she? You can find passages to explain or allow or even deny anything in these old ass ways. Yeah, true, you can. I mean, there's also yikesy shit you can find in, like, Jewish books, too. But that doesn't mean that, like, Jews interpret them that way. Especially since, you know, Jews spend so much time arguing about how to, like, what X, Y, or Z even means. Or I'm sorry, not Jews, rabbis. Because apparently that's what the Talmud is. It's literally just rabbis arguing with each other and writing it down.
More than happy to give you the exact same offer that PBD gave Tucker. We can hire independent accountants. They can go through our finances. It's never happened. I have no problem doing that if you want.
Well, yeah, of course Ben-Gvir does, because Ben-Gvir is a crazy, like, super religious right-wing person.
Doing that if you want to take me up on it at any point.
I don't know if we literally meant that you actually get paid from the Israeli government, but I think clearly, like, you have an audience where you need to suggest that
how many people have I had on from the other
a radical Islamist, and you're
really? Do you want to see
promoting the Israeli line dramatically, and that's your business.
You don't need to say Mamdani's a radical Islamist in order to criticize his Israel takes. You can literally say he's an anti-Semite without any of that. Mamdani doesn't even need to be a Muslim to be called anti-Semitic. Him being anti-Semitic, like, I would argue, doesn't really have that much to do with him being Muslim. Because a lot of, like, the shit that he says about Israel and whatnot is like, very much coded in his leftism, more so than it is in any kind of Islamist shit.
That's your business.
I've had Dave Smith on twice. James Lee and I have spoken twice.
I don't know who that is, but that's great.
He's very pro-Palestine. We had a full episode with Crystal Ball coming out on Her Take. I'm the one who got Anna Kasparian that job on Her Take. And the issue was not about Israel versus Palestine. And in fact, I've had Cenk Uygur on to talk to me about it as well. And I can even drop a clip in here where we're on Peers and I'm saying, I've learned a lot from you on this subject matter.
Oh, it's called An English Carol of the Bells. Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember the name of it.
Honestly, this is wasting my time. I'm willing to talk to you about issues. If this is going to be about you crying because we have been mean to you, I'm very, very sorry. And I apologize and I'll go. But if we're going to talk about issues, let's talk about it. I don't care. I'm willing to stipulate.
All right, let's do another lie that's right here. Let's do this one.
I'm mean to you.
Let's do this
and all of that.
All right, let's do one in the wheelhouse.
Now let's talk about issues.
Shall we? Can we do the trans kids? Because you have a crazy lie about that one.
Let's start with what you suggested to my producer.
Okay,
what does Sam want to talk about? Let's talk about the only thing that I actually care about.
I went over all this with your producer.
You're whining and crying about how I'm mean to you and how we called you a name.
Sam, you're a liar.
Sorry about that. I accept
I'm gonna bust you in so many lies. Okay,
there you go.
Here we go. Let's do SOT number 7. Let's do SOT number 7.
I'd also say that organic-y type of thing that she represents would be catastrophic. There's an article in Foreign Policy Magazine 2022 in Sri Lanka.
Oh yeah, if you do not call for the complete destruction of Israel, then you will be labeled a Zionist regardless of your stances on anything else. Well, yeah. I mean, I would argue that if you're a two-stater, like, you could be labeled a Zionist, but I understand why people don't want to call themselves Zionists, because that if they were to do so, they would be like, you know, they would be perceived as something that they're not. Like, because to these people, Zionist equals basically supports every single thing that Israel does. Just like how I don't think what's going on in Gaza is a genocide, but but that doesn't mean that I'm okay with, like, the way that Israel has conducted itself in Gaza. Or like that I'm really okay with, like, what's happening in Lebanon or whatever, but because that I refuse to use the G word, that therefore means that I support everything Israel is doing, and I'm a genocide supporter, because that's, like, how these people's logic works, because they're just, like, all they care about is, like, fucking purity testing you. Who is the person on the left, not Emma, but the other one? That's Jillian Michaels. Arthur. Like, if you're talking about before that, the woman who is next to Sam, yeah, that's her name's Jillian Michaels. You can look her up. Her name's also right here in the title too. So, who? Jillian Michaels? Here. Hey, TRC.
Organic farming went catastrophically wrong. Nationwide experiment is abandoned after producing only misery. Basically tried to go pesticide free, and it caused food shortages. So these people have no real solutions other than they have a perverse incentive in that when people are sicker and aren't covered by public health, they turn to quacks like them. Yep.
Okay, so that's exactly what we're talking about. That was in relation to USA. Did you read the article?
Did I read the article?
You said yup. So did you read it? Because it doesn't support.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
The clip
honestly,
just
Matt
aired.
was
Did you
talking there.
read-
I don't know what you're talking
You
about.
said yup. Are you not? Okay.
I said yup just now.
In the clip when you read it.
This
ties
do
back
3
to
hours
you.
a day. I don't know when that clip was from.
Well, don't you think
want
you
me to
should be
respond to
responsible
what
for the things
Matt
on your?
said yup.
Okay.
Yeah, what is the? I don't even know.
So
what
this ties back to
I'm not
USA.
listening to this.
This
You
ties
can play
back.
it. It's for show. I'm here to have an adult conversation. You're not.
You are.
You're just
I think you're in
talking
a free
about
fall
how
because I'm going to bust you in lie
aggrieved you are.
after lie
Listen,
after lie.
That's great.
So
You can.
in the article, what
Here is no. Let's start at the beginning.
That is
shall
the
we?
beginning. That's
we
USA.
were on Piers Morgan. You said to me that when I brought up that there were going to be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands.
Because Arthur, everyone thinks that they can sound off on politics. Okay, everyone thinks they're an expert on politics now.
Millions of people over the course of the next decade who are going to die because of cuts in USAID. Your words to me were, quote, and I'm sure you have it, whatever number it is.
I do.
Your words, that's a red herring. And then you said to me, read a book.
And if you had, I think you'd know what I was talking about.
You remember what book it was?
Save 3 Lives by Rodale.
Yes, I did read that book.
Did you? Then you should
I bought
get it.
that book.
Okay.
I have it right here. It was an okay book.
But it should
there was a lot
explain
of stuff
to you
there which I
how
agree with.
ongoing
Do you know
food
when
is.
that
I
book
would
was
think
written?
you would, Sam.
You know
this
when that
actually,
book was written?
Not only do I know when it's written, it actually started in the 50s.
1991.
Sam, can I explain it to
And
you?
that was 35 years ago. And so I read the book. It mentions USAID once on page 65, where Rodale actually speaks sort of positively of the USAID representative at a conference who was discussing the
what if food
troubles
aid run
with
through?
getting,
What does
with
the
getting
food aid run through, Sam?
the supplies needed to grow food in Africa was actually more expensive than the actual food in of itself.
Yes,
and so
you got it.
Everything that
Exactly.
was in this book and everything that you complained about, saying that USAID was just a front for corporations to go in and destroy the food supply in these countries by forcing, and much of what has been written here, I've interviewed countless people on this topic later than 1991, where this dynamic continued.
It got worse.
All of those operations that you supposedly had a problem with USAID have been moved over to the USDA.
I'm well
All
aware.
of that stuff is still happening. But what
Yes,
is not
I
happening
know.
is
That's my
people
point.
Are not getting, people are not getting, they're not getting like TB fighting drugs.
Yes, they
They're
are,
not
Sam.
getting,
That waiver was on the 28th of January.
That's PEPFAR.
There was a
That
blanket.
Was the PEPFAR waiver.
PEPFAR
and
was,
that waiver,
and
I'll
then
tell you right now,
2.3,
I've
and
got
then
an article
2.4.
right here in my hand that talks about the fact is that even after the waiver was issued,
It took a
because
few
it
weeks.
screwed up the supply side, the logistics stuff, that they still having problems. PBS just wrote a piece on this actually, maybe it was in March, about how they are actually seeing deaths, extensive deaths, in as a function of.
Send it to me because I did a ton of homework on
Uganda, April 22nd, sees spike in disease-related deaths after elimination of USAID from PBS.
That's been moved
And
over
it
to the
does
State
specifically
Department, though,
cite-
Sam. It is.
So the clanker, in terms of the mortality stuff, it's citing that Lancet analysis that it says like it says it should be treated as estimates. So these are estimates. I think it's important to remember that. And it says that a Lancet associated analysis summarized by UCLA estimated that recent USAID defunding could lead to more than 14 million additional deaths globally by 2030, including more than 4.5 million children under 5 if deep cuts continue. A broader Lancet Global Health analysis of global aid cuts projected millions more deaths under mild to severe defunding scenarios. And then there was stuff about disease and whatnot. I just asked it what the impact of, but I'll ask it for more details about the mortality numbers now. Posted the Finkelstein BJG interview in stream suggestion. Did you timestamp it? Because I'm not listening to that whole thing.
It isn't eliminated. It changed departments.
It specifically,
or at least posted the timestamp part of it. Yeah.
Talks about the abrupt grinding to a halt by USAID
It was
for both
moved
HIV
over
and
to the
HIV-associated
State
illnesses like
Department on the
TB,
4th of
meningitis.
February.
Thank you. I'll look at that in a bit.
Sorry.
Close to 15% of the clients dying of malaria and TB. This is
Sam,
because of the function of
2-4.
USAID.
Anything. Okay, first of all of that was done on 128. A blanket waiver for life.
Oh, I see. She's trying to downplay it because she supports Trump and Trump did it.
For life-saving aid.
It shut everything down. I'm sorry.
On 128, it was a blanket waiver was given. Okay.
That this will produce 14 million additional deaths by
Sam,
2030.
let's go through that. Can we do that? Can I address your two studies?
Sure.
Okay. So number one,
well,
you've got two.
This one's not a study.
They're modeling.
This one is direct reporting. No, by PBS on the ground in Uganda.
That 14 million people have died.
The 14. No. That people were dying in Uganda because of the destruction of USAID.
Sam, send it to me.
I mean,
because
take it up with PBS.
So I did take it up with PBS, and here's what I learned. Since the 2025 dissolution of USAID, the U.S. shifted global health operations to the State Department under the America First Global Health Strategy. The new model still funds the actual medicines, the HIV drugs, the TB meds, the malaria treatments, but we did stop paying directly for some of the operational infrastructure, like mobile clinics, fuel, local delivery networks, and that's the core criticism.
Yeah, wouldn't that have like a big impact if those countries don't have any of those things in place?
Or criticism. The medicine still exists, but the quote last mile delivery system broke down, rendering some patients in remote villages unable to access care. But here's the catch. When Uganda signed a 5-year memorandum of understanding with the US, they got up to $1.7 billion in direct US funding, strictly earmarked to guarantee 100% of physical drug commodity costs and to build high-level digital disease surveillance systems. They got an additional $800 million in direct US support, which also flows into the country through global.
Are they gonna make sure that that money is going where it's supposed to and that there's not any kind of corruption that's gonna snatch it up for other shit?
Through global platforms like Gavi and the Global Fund, bringing the total macro valuation of U.S. commitment to roughly $2.5 billion through 2030. Now, in exchange for this money, the government of Uganda formally assumed full legal and operational responsibility for the last mile delivery framework. Uganda legally agreed to fund local clinic operations, absorb distribution logistics, and permanently transition thousands of previously U.S.-funded frontline healthcare workers and nurses onto its own national public payroll system. Now, on the death toll, they give no numbers and no percentage of increase offered for the, quote, spike in deaths. But my honest assessment is that one would assume if people can't access care, there's credible reason to believe there were preventable deaths. But with Uganda now responsible for its own system and multiple global donors having backed out, it's difficult to say who truly bears responsibility for them. So in summation, the United States government, under the America First Health strategy, ended its long-standing partnership with NGOs for health service delivery, reverting instead to direct engagement with the government of Uganda. The U.S. cited persistent concerns that the NGO-led delivery model fostered abuse of American funds, including theft, wastage, and limited accountability.
How often have you felt like your skincare routine isn't doing much? Well, I've been exactly
no.
into my routine within. Actually, you unlock and after you start with your first purchase, they're going to ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that I sent you. Okay. Well, I'm gonna start with your first study. Okay. So you claim numerous times that 600,000 people have died. All right. So first of all, that's a model. It's not. Here's what it is not. Are you ready? A death registry.
So it is mentioning that it does say that like it is that 14 million figure is a high scenario model estimate, and it's not a measured death toll or settled fact or whatever. These are like this is a guess. But now I'm asking about what she's claiming about supposedly shifting funds over. Daniel, do I need to make a pinned message that says we will not be talking about the drama? I don't want to talk about the Snark server drama. I don't want to talk about any of that shit, okay? Like, listen. Snarkers are cringe. I don't like them. I think I've made that very clear. That's all I really need to say about it. It's wild and it's wacky and it's crazy, and these people need to get jobs and go out and touch grass. If your entire online life is just literally hating someone, then I think you have a serious mental health problem. Oh, sorry, I just tuned in and didn't know the rule. No, it's fine. It's okay. I understand. You just got here. And I get, because this is my first stream in a while, people are wondering where I disappeared to or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, at least she is drilling Sam on something he's actually coherent on. Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, the USAID thing could be like more nuanced or whatever. I still think it's bad that they cut it. And that like, not even just the fact that they cut it, it's the fact that they did it in a way that is unconstitutional. You cannot wipe out an entire fucking department that was created by Congress. Like, that's not, you're not supposed to do that. Congress controls the purse strings.
Registry, confirmed bodies, forensic evidence, WHO mortality census, none of the above. The author
of
you
have that
this is yours, Sam.
No. Yeah, they could fix the issues. Yeah, exactly. Yes, Chase, I agree. But yeah. It's fine. It's okay. And a bunch of babies are going to be born with AIDS. Yeah, I know. There's a whole bunch of stuff. How could you misspell that? Listen, your fingers do weird things, okay?
No, I'm asking you what counter evidence you have. That's correct. Modeling happens all the time in public
Sam,
health.
there isn't any. In fact, there's none. And here's the reason. Because it is impossible to identify exact numbers. The author herself says they're modeling numbers, and I recognize the limitation. And then I'm going to show you the limitations with the study that you never cite. Sam, they're modeling numbers. I
recognize. How many are you okay with?
None, which is why I want to get into. Sam,
thank you, Azradesh. We are not doing the kind of slop here that everyone else has been doing. We are doing politics slop. Back to actual real politics. Well, unfortunately, This is real politics now. Let's all be sad. Your fingers do weird things, said Bill Cosby. True.
They're modeling numbers, and I recognize the limitations that this comes with. We don't
Okay, I'm going to feed the cat. 1 sec. We're just going to keep listening.
have routine data sets that we can measure, such as those killed by lack of U.S. funding. Having said that, okay, what she doesn't take into account in her modeling, she doesn't take into account any of the waivers. There was a blanket waiver for life-saving aid given 8 days after Trump's executive order.
I just read to you a piece from PBS that said that waiver was irrelevant in terms of actually getting the aid to people because of all the other mechanisms that were destroyed. The waiver was okay.
Sam, send it to me. Send it to me, and I'll have a team fact check it right now.
Because have Google,
Sam,
you're going to see spike in disease-related deaths
guys,
after elimination of USAID.
Check that. How many deaths? I did find some through Washington Post. I found a handful. Hardly 600 to 750,000. I found a handful. And
a handful? How many is a handful? Kids dying?
Honestly, I found about 8 cases that are documented. Okay. And the issue also has to do with war. It's very, very difficult to lock it down. Having said that, you're throwing out numbers that are not true. So
these
first
are models by the Lancet. I said this is the Lancet study.
Okay,
They're
Sam,
models that
you
are being
neglected
done.
to mention the problem with this model. A, the author of the study has significant conflicts of interest because she gets grants from USAID. All right, there's flawed math because she's saying that every dollar spent equates to an amount of people saved. That's not true at all. She's got opaque, not rigorous layered modeling. She layers 6 different historical studies on top of each other and mashes them together. She ignored pre-existing duplication, which I'm going to give you an example of with the NIH, the USAID, the Eco Health Alliance is a perfect example, which I'm going to give you. USDA, local governments, private philanthropies, she just forgets completely exist. She ignored reassignments because PEPFAR, as you know, went to the State Department, USDA got food. These things were reassigned. There is no...
No, first off, they were not all reassigned. And secondly,
they weren't.
It's one thing to get a waiver, but if you have undermined the entire logistical side, if all the contracts are canceled, if all
let's go to USDA because I think you'll like this one. Let's go to that one. So you read the book and I think you get it. You referenced that it's from 1991. It actually started in the 50s. And it was started by Eisenhower, and it was public law, I think, 480. Then Kennedy turned it into Food for Peace when he created USAID. Trump grabbed this. You'll like this. This is anti-Trump. He grabbed this on the 3rd of February of 2025, right? And he moved it all under USDA, and then he called it America First Food Aid. And what he did was he made sure, it's called Tide Aid, which existed, but it got expanded over the years. So you referenced 1991, it got worse over the years. So Tide Aid essentially means that all aid has to come from our big ag companies and go through our shippers. We lose 30 cents on every dollar as American taxpayers because of this. Now, what it does in the developing world is horrible, but there's no universe. And this is what I mean when I tell you it's a red herring. There's no universe they're giving up those contracts. It's billions of dollars to big ag, billions of dollars. It moved over in less than 2 weeks to USDA. And the reason I'm telling you it's a red herring is because it's covering up for so much filthy, dirty stuff that
You're saying that any of the life-saving stuff that USAID did, is it your contention that USAID never saved a life, never provided malaria stuff?
Nope.
Okay, what is your contention?
Okay, I'll give you an example, all right? Can I give you
when I mentioned kids, you said that's a red herring.
Yes, it's a red herring because we're still feeding them, Sam.
To you that
it's a red herring because we're still feeding them. They're distracting
you. On the contrary, the idea of the corporations, that is a red herring. Because if Donald Trump wanted to go in there and reform, that big ag is getting all the contracts and creating monocultures and growing crops that are not appropriate for those countries, et cetera, et cetera. This is all just sort of like imperialism. And
it is. It's neocolonialism. It's right up your alley, which is why I don't see why you don't.
But if Donald Trump wanted to fix that,
no,
he could have easily fixed that.
He didn't want to fix that.
That's correct. All that ended up happening is all of those bad things continued.
Yes.
The only thing is no longer.
I'm saying that's my point. None of that is changing. That's what I was trying to tell you.
Anti-TB stuff. No, well, let's play the clip and let people decide if that's what you were trying to do.
Okay, no problem. Guys, it's shot number 8.
Jillian.
The feeding starving children thing is such a freaking red herring. So first of all, the vast majority of this USAID bloat and corruption does not go to that. Second of all, we have children starving in America. But third of all, and what you don't know and what you have not looked into, okay, is that read a book. It's called Save 3 Lives, and it's by the Rodale family. And it has to do with the fact that our big ag companies went into the developed world to addict their soil to our GMO crops. It's a money laundering game. They can grow their crops in their
all of this for $30 a year off your taxes. Yeah, I know, right? Like, USAID was not that expensive. And, like, the idea that cutting it saved waste, fraud, and abuse. Conservatives also love to obsess over different programs that USAID had. Don't both tankies and Nazis hate USAID? Yes, Daniel, they do. But Sam isn't, like, a full-on tanky. And like, I feel like he is capable of nuance sometimes. You know who knows this? CSIS agricultural program. Oh, Arthur, did CSIS do some work on this in order to like cut through the bullshit? I'll ask the Clanker about it too. I'm sure that it'll be able to find me stuff, and it will probably cite CSIS. Because like, at least my Clanker tends to cite good sources. Avi Martin is maybe who I am. Yeah, Avi Martin's terrible. Who thinking up, yeah. Yeah, TRC, well, Sam's not a full, a lib in that way. I don't know, like, I don't know if Sam's always been this bad, or if he's just gotten fucking brain broken by certain things. They do a lot of this stuff. I haven't watched it myself, but I see egg stuff in my sub feed. Okay, well. Yeah, I don't know. Sam's, like, hosts are, oh, he's been brain broken. That wouldn't surprise me. He used to be funny. Oh, yeah. Listen, there were still things that were funny. I enjoyed, like, Michael Brooks's Dave Rubin impression and his Bernie Sanders impression. Sam and Emma were pretty concerned about it when Trump announced the cuts in 2024. Oh, yeah, no. You will definitely get, like, progressives like this who will be upset about the loss of USAID in that regard. I guess it really depends on the kind of leftist that you're talking about. More like mainstream people will definitely be mad about it. But the further left you go, the more they just don't care. Like, Zay Squirrel tweeted absolutely nothing about USAID. Or then you get people like Shoe on Ahead making videos about how USAID actually sucks. Is her main contention that it was not helpful due to fraud? Her wiki says she supported some NGOs in the past. Her main contention seems to be that that basically big agriculture was being given money by the American government to grow food that was going to get sent to Africa with, like, soil that isn't really necessarily compatible with Africa or something to that effect. Why does anyone care about Zay Squirrel? She's a nobody and a schizo. The reason why people care about her, Daniel, is because that she literally gets fucking cited in Intercept articles and drop site articles, and all of these leftists think that she's a good source. But yeah, like, she's pointing to some weird corruption shit, or she was saying that also, it seems like her main argument is basically that nothing bad is actually going to happen as a result of this, because that all of it is just being sent over to the USDA, and now the American government is like moving the responsibility away from NGOs, because she's claiming that that there was, like, a bunch of corruption and the NGOs would misuse funds given to them by the US government, and that instead like, they should that money is going to get given to the African government so that they can build up like their own structures or whatever. Never mind the fact that the African government very often, or the African governments in question, like, I mean, yes, because those African governments are notoriously uncorrupt and totally will not misappropriate or misuse that money in any way. Nope, not at all. I can't foresee this backfiring in any way whatsoever. Oh, I know, no, only P. Shuan Head's a populist, okay? She's a brain-dead populist. That is her main thing. Yeah, sure. People in Ukrainian civilians surely don't suffer from the lack of USAID. Yeah, I know, right? Although I feel like Ukraine is probably going to be better off than some of those African countries, but it's still fucking dumb. I still hate it. Anyway.
In their soil far more efficiently and did for thousands of years before ConAgra and Cargill and Monsanto and ADM went in. You just don't know that because you haven't done your homework. So you're like, oh, there's children starving in Africa. When really, it is about billions of dollars going to big ag. That's what that's really about. And I've seen it firsthand when I went to South Sudan and stayed at a refugee camp. So don't play your starving children card. I can't.
So I'm telling you that bloat and corruption is not about the USAID program, but if you're truly concerned about it, it's way worse than not sending Puffy Nutty or whatever the paste is. It is because it is actually because
couldn't this have been fixed without, like, completely gutting all of USAID though?
Budget
if this is really a problem. Nah, it's the same with our support from the left. We should be ideal or no help. Oh, wait, what do you mean, Vasterman? Is that, like, do you personally know the extent to which USAID has impacted, like, those cuts have impacted Ukraine? Actually, Arthur, I could ask you the same. Twitter can be a brilliant source on, ironically, people like Jompy, Covert Cabal. Oh, yeah, no, there are good, like, OSIT people on Twitter and stuff. Vatnik Soup is on Twitter. No, only P. I'm not saying Shu has always been just a populist. I'm saying that right now, her main thing is that she's like, it seems like her main overriding shit is that she's a fucking populist. Or she's a conservative leaning populist, I guess I could say. Because, like, obviously she has, like, some weird socially conservative shit. No, I'm comparing support for Ukraine and support for USAID for leftist should be. Oh, yeah, I understand. But, I mean, Jillian Michaels isn't a leftist. I think it's more just that, like, these people, like, people who are populists or whatever, are, like, going out of their way to try to find anything bad that cutting USAID got rid of, and then they're going to use that to justify how cutting USAID was okay. Yeah, oh no, Shu absolutely is a populist. The only reason why Only P doesn't like that is because Only P is also a populist, and she will, and I don't know why, for some reason I keep thinking Only P is a woman, and I don't know if she's or not. Yeah, Only P, I know. I'm sure you also don't think Trump is a populist either. Jillian Michaels is very much a conservative. I'm not saying Jillian Michaels isn't a conservative. She is. I'd say that she was probably more of a right-leaning populist than she is like a full-on right-wing populist. Trump is like a right-wing populist, or rather MAGA is a right-wing populist movement. And then yeah, I don't know where I would put Jillian Michaels is probably just a standard conservative who is also going to run around defending MAGA and shit. They make it seem like it's all rotten just because some parts weren't ideal. Yeah, I know. I hate that. I hate the lack of nuance. Something is, like, there's something bad about a particular thing, so let's throw it all out instead of, why don't we fix it? Actually, we could just say Trump is a... I don't even know if I would necessarily label Trump as anything. I mean, Trump uses right-wing populist talking points. I don't think he believes in anything. Yeah, Only P, I know you're going to say that, but I'm sorry, it's all populist. Populism is cringe, and I hate it. But because you're a populist, you really want to defend populism. I understand. You're making... That's the same argument that Cenk Uygur made about how Trump's not a real populist. My baby was broken, so I threw it out. Exactly. Hello, Vanaloven. We can just say Trump is evil. I agree! He is! Because he's a fucking crazy narcissist person who doesn't really believe in anything. He just uses the Al Capone playbook constantly. True. Okay.
The spending by sector from 2024, you said the majority of this stuff.
Bloat and corruption, I said. The majority
Malaria,
of the bloat
maternal
and corruption.
child health, basic
Sam,
education, good governance, disaster readiness.
Sam, that's not what I said. I said the majority...
I'll be right back.
...majority of bloat and corruption is not going to that. Can I give you an example?
Well, the majority of stuff that's not going to them is not going to them. But is your suggestion
Can I give you an example?
The majority, I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
I'm going to try to tell you.
Are you saying that the majority of the USAID budget was just bloat and corruption?
The bloat and corruption that Elon Musk is referencing. He was very clear, by the way, that he didn't want to cut food aid.
Wait, are you going to try and argue to me that Doge was somehow successful? It is universally considered an absolute failure.
Well, let's talk.
We didn't save any money. The budget.
We did save money, not nearly as much. You're absolutely right.
We didn't save a dime.
Can we get into
a dime? The way they went about this was just the most ham-fisted way. They used AI just to look at contracts and willy-nilly. We just had a judge ruling the other day. Half the stuff is being reversed to the extent that it can be because it was done so poorly.
Why don't we talk about what he was talking about? You see if you don't agree with it, okay? So can I point out something I think that you got wrong? I'll give you an example of what we're talking about.
The COVID pandemic, I think we all know that infectious diseases abroad do not necessarily stay overseas, and we help countries prevent and detect infectious diseases before they could come to our borders. And we built partnerships that help the United States and built goodwill and on the foundation of American generosity over the course of about 6 decades that created an international framework that supported the United States' success over that time.
I mean, it was created under the Kennedy administration, along with things like the Peace Corps. This was a way to project, or in many respects, like American influence, if not power, but soft power, and to do so by making friends. I mean, like we like essentially to help people. And it was, I mean, aside from, like you say, a lot of this had implications for American health too, because particularly at, less so maybe in 1960, but certainly by the time you get to 2020, we saw quite quickly how something that starts all the way around the world can impact this country.
Okay, can I give you some examples of where that's flawed? All right. So,
what I said, or the guy who worked at USAID for 10 years?
But Sam, both.
Which okay, both of us were flawed. Okay.
Both. All right. So USAID gave EcoHealth Alliance, which is the organization that funded the Wuhan lab. Okay, they gave them millions of dollars. Part of it quite literally went to bat-borne coronavirus research, 1.1 million. They've given them tens of millions.
Oh God, here we go. I bet she believes in that lab leak shit too. Listen, Only P, I don't think that Donald Trump is really a populist anymore. Or rather, see, the way that populism typically works is once you get into power, you usually like tend to not be able to do anything. Or rather, you because you become the elite. And so you obviously can't continue to like push the same kind of rhetoric as you did previously about the evil elites and how like they're like bad and shit, because now you are the establishment.
Millions. Simultaneously, these guys are taking money from the NIH for the same thing. They're double billing both agencies.
I bet that she thinks that everything the Wuhan lab did was really bad.
That's bloat, that's corruption. Not only that, okay, just to show you, I'm trying to show you that there is bloat and there is corruption, and this is the kind of stuff that people are upset about. So now, if you look at, right, how corrupt these people are,
what does that have to do with USAID? Is
USAID
that
funded them tens of millions of dollars. Sam,
to study
what
pathogens?
Sam, the point that Elon Musk was.
There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with studying pathogens or any of that gain of function shit or any of that. All this stuff is just dumb fear-mongering from fucking conservatives who want to push this dumb lab leak theory. I once took a leak in a lab, arrest me. Oh my God. You think Albert resignation is a win for the Rubio camp and the Republican Party? I don't think it matters. Like, I don't think it matters. Is the person, like, let me know if we'll see. We'll see whether or not her replacement does anything better.
Musk was trying to make, and he said so numerous times. He did not say, I want to cut food, I want to cut life-saving aid. He said the opposite. So you
said it was a joke. You laughed at it. You literally said it's a red herring and it's a joke.
It is a red herring.
Okay. Kids dying card.
Sam, what I was saying
you're so worried about bloat and corruption. Do you understand that Donald Trump right now has been selling pardons? He is literally about to get a $1.7 billion slush fund by suing the government. And his former defense attorney, who's the head of the DOJ. And you're talking about like,
well, you wanted to debate this, though, didn't you? Isn't this what you wanted to debate?
It's a red herring. No, I just don't think this is all disingenuous.
Really?
The idea of like that.
I wonder how much she's talked about the slush fund, though, because you'll get a lot of these people who like ostensibly or who generally will defend Trump and then they just don't talk about it.
Like that somehow that the USAID was targeted to deal with a lab in Wuhan is absurd.
Sam, it's not absurd. It's absolutely true.
And all of the resources that were cut in the first Trump administration from pandemic, a whole pandemic alarm system with people who were stationed in Wuhan from the United States, with a cabinet level secretary who was in charge of keeping the country aware of pathogens that were coming. All of that stuff, waste and bloat until we end up having to shut down.
Have you actually listened to anything else I've said about this? Because
it appears that the slush fund might be dead in the Senate. Wait, does that shit actually require Congress to pass something? I thought that this was all being done by the executive branch.
Because I could actually go.
I've listened to everything you've said.
Okay, so then you would know that I said
you were crying about what we had said about you on the show.
Sam, if you'd actually done that, you know that I said that this should be like removing a brain tumor. In other words, if USAID is the brain, you need to be slow and strategic about removing.
I think that's exactly what I was saying on the with Piers Morgan. Okay. And your response was that's a red herring.
Oh yeah, Van Loven, I know that it should require Congress, but that doesn't necessarily mean. Wait, Baths, what do you mean? No, he's not. People who get gifted, it doesn't mean that they're in that they're in chat. Somebody gifted me a sub to IRI the other day, and I wasn't even watching his stream. YouTube gifties are weird. You'll just get like they just go to like any subscribers basically. Yes, Mbaths, that is correct. Yes, that is how it works.
Don't throw that around.
And the reason it is a red herring is because they are using you. And when I say they,
nope,
I'm talking about Big Ag. I'm talking about places like EcoHealth Alliance.
They
distract from Sam. The definition
$4
of
billion
Sam,
annually.
I'm talking
the percentage of what.
Thank you for the 5 gifties, Fallen Flowers.
Of what you're talking about. Donald Trump has made more money in the past 15
Sam, that's
months.
a separate conversation. Stay on point. You want to talk about this?
This is all part of one conversation.
Okay.
Because when you decide to prioritize shifting big ag's neo-colonialism to the State Department from USAID to USDA at the expense of providing things like malaria care.
They did provide malaria
maternal
care,
and
Sam.
child
If you're
health
going to
care.
say they did
Good
provide
governance. Oh, I'm looking at the cuts.
Sam, on
2.4
right here. So tell me, here's my question.
I will tell you the
then
percentages
what was the
in which they
blanket
were cut.
waiver on 2.4 that specifically is for
you can say
child
the blanket
mortality
waiver
and
over over
maternal
again.
care?
I will give you actual dollar amounts that were cut from each of these programs. From malaria, 25% cut.
But Sam,
from
okay.
basic education, 35% cut. From disaster readiness, 24% cut. From pandemic influenza and other emerging threats, 33% cut. I mean, I could just keep going on and on and on.
Can I address that? Can I address that? They are cutting bureaucracy, corruption, fraud, and duplication. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't. That's why I'm trying to show you, just with one example on COVID.
Have you not heard how the guys from Doge did this? They used AI, and they just used keywords to cut all these contracts. They're not cutting any bloat or waste or whatever you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. They would cut contracts that had to do with DEI, and they would just search for DEI. It was so stupid. Kind of like how the pages about the Enola Gay got removed from the Pentagon website because that they literally were just searching for the word gay, and then they had to put it back.
There's not a single piece of evidence that there was any bloat or corruption or whatever.
I just gave you a ton of evidence. Okay, right, can I give you more? Can I give you more? Can I give you more?
I agree with you that we should not allow big corporations to do this.
Do you want to talk about Afghanistan? Do you want to talk about Haiti?
Listen, I have talked about both those places significantly, but Doge did nothing to address those issues whatsoever. They have flourished under this administration.
Sam,
they did nothing.
I don't disagree with you about that. If you want to say they flourished under this administration, then what I would say to you is maybe this is an area where you and I could find some common ground, because I still stand for what I stand for. But when people are hoping that that stuff dies, there are reasons that they hope it dies. That's what I'm trying to show you. There are, for example...
You're telling me that the reasons why Doge did this was because they were concerned about neo-colonialism?
No, that's why I told you that's a red herring. That's not what it was.
Neo-colonialism is a red herring?
No,
or
Sam.
The children dying is a red herring?
No, Sam. What I was telling you is they weren't cutting that ever. It was just moving over to the USDA. That's what I was trying.
That is not what. Let's watch that clip again, because you specifically said the children dying is a red herring.
Neither one of these people know enough of the specifics. Van 11, do you know the specifics? Oh, the transgenic mice shit. Oh my god, that was so stupid.
Not.
I said in the very beginning, and we can play it again. I said the corruption and the bloat is not going towards the food, meaning that is not what he is talking about. I can play it again. That's what I'm
looking at. I'm just simply looking at all the cuts across the board
Sam,
here.
The cuts, a dollar cut of duplication, of bloat, of bureaucracy.
Okay. That idea is partly true, and it's an important correction, but it does not mean the USAID cuts were fake or harmless. Yeah, I figured that just added some nuance to this. Because they did move a lot of that stuff to the State Department. But like the issue was that like there were lots of disruptions. And like who knows the number of people who would die. And it wasn't like a full proper replacement. And also again, I really don't I'm sure that just giving all that money to the African governments or to like other governments ruled by people who are probably corrupt is going to go over great rather than like having NGOs do it. If it was infamously a weed whacker job, of course it was, because like these people didn't care. It's been years, but I know if you go back to the reporting and Doge, it was pretty demonstrable that they were not making meaningful cuts to it. Yeah, I remember that. Because, like, they were literally just going through these fucking contracts and searching for shit. And so, like, they would just cut out the dumbest shit. In fact, they made a lot of waste because people had to be rehired, programs restarted, and so on. Yeah, I know. And, like, there were a lot of people that the U.S. government fired, too, that they had to hire back. Like, the fucking nuclear scientists or the nuclear operators. Yeah, like, that was just... yeah. The transgenic mice shit was fucking hilarious.
Of bureaucracy, of corruption, does not equate to aid.
Show me the place sought never number where you have the proof that this is bloat and corruption.
Okay, can I give you examples? I don't have clips of what happened with COVID. I can
Oh yeah, god damn it.
Put the articles up. So that's
bloat and corruption.
So okay. When EcoHealth Alliance is given tens of millions of dollars from USAID, and they're double billing 2 different government agencies for the same thing, do you think that's bloat and corruption? And
Alliance had this contract in 2024?
Okay, let me give you the exact.
Or that contract had ended before then?
They got the contract, so here we go. Okay, so they got it before that, obviously. I can get you the exact date if you want. So USAID's Predict program. All right, team, can you give me the exact year that USAID Predict gave $1.1 million to EcoHealth Alliance, specifically for a sub-agreement with Wuhan Institute of Virology?
$1.1 million?
They also got, listen.
You know that they're only, oh yeah, 1.1 million. This is such a, the amount of money is so small. That's not like, listen, $1 million is not even really a lot of money. Department of Government excess.
Listen, I'm not done. They got $83 million in total. Okay, this is just to identify
from US.
Yes,
$83 million from USAID.
Yes, Sam. Okay, ready? In October, I got it. Okay, so we have. Hold on. So in October of 2021, USAID awarded 4.67.
Wow, you know what? It sounds like maybe USAID, or it sounds like maybe there should have been like better auditing then, and cutting off NGOs who were doing weird double billing shit, or like making them pay the money back, or stopping them from doing that, rather than just axing all of USAID.
$7 million grant with total funding obligations.
Oh God, 6.7
that reached 13.1. So some of this has to do with farming in Liberia. Okay, EcoHealth also operated as a subrecipient on other multi-million-dollar USAID projects, including, here we go, One Health Workforce Grant and the Ready Initiative. Total $85 million just for those programs. The Ready Initiative was $8 million. The Liberia money was $13.1 million. And simultaneously, these guys are billing the NIH and they're double billing.
Mr. Boxrelli sent 6.7 for 67 joules. Nice, thanks. Yes, she did say 6.7. What exactly, what are those joules things? Like, do you guys pay money for those? I don't understand. Like, how does that stuff even work?
That's what I'm trying to show you. Not only are they double billing, if I could just show you this is not a gotcha. Graphic number 6. This is the.
No, it's not.
This is a son of a bitch from EcoHealth Alliance. Okay, so, ready? This is David Morenz from the NIH. They got him more money after they were trying to hide the FOIA requests, or sorry, hide the emails, and from the FOIA requests that were coming in to show that there was a connection with the coronavirus and the NIH.
Oh, Twitch bits, but for YouTube. Oh, okay, cool.
Funding and the USAID funding. Now we know. This is David Morenz. Okay, this is Fauci's guy. Do I get a kickback? Too much fucking money. Do you deserve it all?
I don't know. I got the first 1K for free. Oh yeah, that's probably premium then.
Let's discuss. And then Peter Dazik goes, thanks for your kind words. Of course, there's a kickback. So, do you not think that's shitty? That's gross.
I think that the that Doge, that Donald Trump, that Russell Vogt, that Elon Musk had the ability to cancel that contract. Instead, what they did is they did
cancel it.
$5 billion from Protection Assistance and Solutions. They cut $2 billion from HIV/AIDS. They cut $672 million, or I should say $300 million from malaria. They cut $200 million from basic education. They cut $200 million, approximately, it's a little bit more, from maternal and child health.
Sam,
they cut money from good governance. They cut money from disaster readiness, private sector competitiveness, family planning and reproductive health. I could go on and on. Pandemic, influenza, and other emerging threats.
So if they're cutting, corrupt organizations like EcoHealth,
the Alliance, did they do all of those?
Can I give you a bunch of other examples then? Speaking of, right? Okay, so why don't we look at things like, how about Afghanistan?
Oh,
that was botched. Yeah? Are we on the same? Do you think that was botched?
Yes, I don't think we should have been there for 20 years.
That's totally fine.
George W. Bush should have gotten Osama bin Laden at Tora Bora.
Was a disaster, and it's trillions of dollars. So
I was very much against our occupation of Afghanistan. In fact, I thought that our invasion of them, we should have just used. It should have been just a police action to get Osama bin Laden.
That's totally fine. Separate issue though. We're talking about bloat and corruption. All right. So you have $2 trillion.
Well, at least although I mean, I feel like the main issue with that was that the Taliban was harboring bin Laden, and they would have just gone on to continue to harbor other terrorists. But in hindsight, unfortunately, that probably would have been a better move rather than going in there and like overthrowing everything and occupying the whole place and then staying there for 10 years and doing a really shitty job. Yeah.
Went into rebuilding the country for 20 years. So you have Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, and they found trillions of money wasted. Projects were abandoned. Infrastructure was unusable. There was corruption, vulnerabilities, obviously, from the government. Ghost employees, like police.
Wait, if there's a special inspector general doing these reports, why the fuck couldn't they have, like, fixed these problems? Why did you need Doge to do it? Oh yeah, I'm sure it's Afghan, guys. Not Afghani.
Like police officers that didn't exist, massive inability to verify spending, facilities that were built that collapsed into the ground, that were never used, schools and clinics that existed only on paper, same thing with Haiti, and the list goes on and on. So the point is that you can say, oh, they cut these trillions of dollars that were going to schools that never existed.
We were out of Afghanistan when
we're still giving money to the Taliban.
When Elon Musk implemented Doge. I don't understand, but you're just bringing up examples that corruption and bloat exists in certain areas, and therefore it justified cutting off the aid
I'm telling you that
for USAID. Again, you think there's only 8 people who have suffered because of the end of these USAID
It's very difficult to get a quantifiable number.
Well, what's your estimate?
Honestly, considering, if we're looking at this honestly, given the fact that you have other governments giving, that never was interrupted.
They have cut back as well, actually, in the wake of our cutting back on USAID, because a lot of these programs had to get
cut back on
torn
January 20th of 25 or later down the road?
No.
Okay, no. All right, so they were giving at the time. So you have a 3-week interruption for some of this stuff. Some of it 1 week, some of it 2 weeks, some of it several weeks. But you have blanket waivers where this was, as you very appropriately show me.
This is from somebody who worked in Uganda. The numbers began to trend downward closer to 10% in terms of deaths after an exemption was issued for certain life-sustaining programs. It's still high, but it's lower than during that time. So it did drop after the exemption.
I searched and searched. I could not find one quantifiable number. I did find a really good piece in the Washington Post that listed specific cases. And one guy who went to South Sudan, I found that. But I searched.
There's a guy here in Uganda.
Sam, okay. And you know what they all say? Well,
yes, unfortunately, yes, only P, it does make sense. But unfortunately, a lot of these people are crazy.
Which would have coincided with the waivers. I know that on the 28th of January, we'd already given a blanket waiver, or Rubio did. I already know there's duplication with government agencies. I know other countries are giving. I know that for a fact. I know that there's local charities. I know that these companies that are getting this money are getting...
Okay, I'm sick of this USAID shit. Is there any, like, they talk about a whole bunch of other stuff in here.
Are getting tens of millions of dollars. So I would think...
Go to Elon Musk.
I'm going to go to Marco Rubio. I'm going to go to the State Department. What he talks about is he killed like 200. He created a code to kill zombie payments. He talks about how he was able to be nominally effective, but when he references why he wasn't capable of being super effective, he talks about the bureaucracy and the corruption and the bloat and how it was more entrenched than he ever imagined. It doesn't mean. And this is not. Listen, I'm not trying to say, oh, you got it wrong. I'm trying to just show you something so that maybe you'll agree with me and we'll have some common ground. So the way that these guys do this, right, it comes in phases. And this is, I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm literally just trying to educate the audience. Should they be confused at all? This has gone on since the 50s. And it was started by Eisenhower, and Kennedy rebranded it as Food for Peace, and it moved through USA.
Jesus, how long do these guys talk about USAID?
Is it possible, Sam? Is it possible? I know, and the guy literally didn't even know that we funded COVID partly through USAID. Doing that by
you didn't really fund whatever. She just think like I guess like among these people now, the idea that COVID came from a lab is literally just a fucking it's just taken as fact.
By redesigning it, he's forcing more of our tax dollars to go towards healthier food, and he's
Oh yeah, all these people think that COVID-19 leaked from the Wuhan laboratory and that it was created via gain of function research that came from like USAID or whatever.
He's forcing areas, food deserts. Okay, so what's going to fund? What is the food pyramid fund, right? It's going to fund lunch for our kids in school, military, it's prisons, all that. Not mean. I'll give you 2 other examples, okay? So the GRASS rule, which is the generally recognized as safe rule, is a food loophole that allows big food to just vouch.
But the incentive structure that made the system corrupt.
President Donald J. Trump announces expansion of TrumpRx.gov to bring Americans transparency and choice of everyday medicine. I can't believe this is a real thing. Fucking TrumpRx. Can they talk about something else?
That was under Trump.
Ukraine.
Designed to prevent. The reforms fully kick in 2020. Can't be undone.
When this is being okay.
At where? Which one? The FTC or the DOJ?
I've sat in the room.
What room?
All right, a room with Kennedy and people like Dr. Oz when they were discussing how this exact flow with the middleman works.
But you didn't sit in any rooms.
I didn't say, okay, you're right. I didn't have those conversations with Kennedy or Dr. Oz or any of that, who then went and joined the administration. None of that happened. I have video of it. None of it happened.
No, I didn't say
when I testify, like none of that happened. I have video of those conversations, but none of it happened.
Not what I was talking about.
Okay. So again, I don't know what else to tell you. This stuff does matter to me. What else would you like to litigate about it? I'm not quite sure. Tell me what else you want to discuss. I'll discuss it with you. These are the things that matter to me.
Not the wars, not the.
But if you want to talk about war, Biden is the one who we got into Ukraine under Biden. And
what do you mean? We
got into Ukraine?
We got into Ukraine. There was an
That was
invasion
Trump.
of Ukraine.
But Sam, there were potential off-ramps for that. One would argue, like the Minsk Accords, there were potential off-ramps.
I think...
No, that wasn't an off-ramp. It was a fucking... Those were agreements, which, by the way, were largely forced on Ukraine by Russia, and that were then broken by Russia. They were also broken by Ukraine as well, but a lot of the times that was in the context of fighting back against Russia. At least for the first Minsk Accord, that was literally broken because Russia was still trying to take Donetsk airport, or rather Russian-backed separatist people, and were still shooting. Like, at no point did that shit ever lead anywhere. Those things were dumb. And for, like, the second one, this whole, let's federalize Donbass shit or whatever the fuck. That was all just being used as a weapon by Russia. And they were expecting Ukraine to, like, immediately hold, or to allow Donbass to hold elections and recognize them when Russian troops were still in the fucking country.
I think Ukraine didn't want to give up their territory.
They didn't have to give up the territory in 22.
I don't see why
they
Biden
didn't have to give up the
has
territory
no other had any more opportunity to end this than Trump does.
I don't agree with you. I think that there were opportunities at the Minsk Accords that provided...
The Minsk Accord... What? The Minsk Accords were before 2022. What is she talking about? Does she not know?
Provided off-ramps, and we didn't take them. Why we didn't take them? I could posit, I guess.
Wait, so under Biden, we controlled Ukraine, but under Trump, we don't control Ukraine.
Well, let's look at that one. And this is the way I perceive it. We pushed and we pushed and we pushed with regard to expanding NATO. And we...
Oh, God. She's going to say all the talking points. Yeah, doesn't federalization mean something very different in Europe than what it means in Ukraine? No, only if or in America. I think it probably would mean about the same thing. As like, in the sense, like, federalization is basically a greater amount of autonomy for like the provinces or oblasts or states or whatever within your country, where like they have more power to like deal with their own affairs, and there are lots of different things that are kind of left up to them. But the way that's implemented is obviously very different depending on the country. But Ukraine doesn't have that system. They have a unitary system. And the extent to, except for with regards to Crimea, and the extent to which they, like, maybe you can make the argument that sure, they should have that system, but the problem is that, a lot of people in Donbass wanted that system, but the problem is how much of the reason, how much of them wanting it was related to, like, Russia, basically trying to, like, influence them to want that, or, like, because literally they're right next door to Russia, and Russia has historically held a lot of like influence over those particular regions. People there tend to like Russia quite a lot. And it, especially since that area of Ukraine was ruled over by Russia, like during the Russian Empire and stuff. So yeah, but doesn't in Europe it almost mean entirely mean autonomy for minorities and other ethnic groups? I don't think so. I mean, maybe just because, I mean, I'm sure that's part of it. That might be part of it, just because that might be part of it for Europe, just because that Europe is very different and they have like quite a different history. I don't know. Oh, thank you for the $5, Bad Bearing. Yeah, Germany is a federal state, but their federalism is different than Europe's, or than America's. I don't actually know that much about it though. Yeah, the problem too is that like at that point in Minsk, where they were trying to like get Ukraine to accept federalization of Donbass, those territories, or like the parts of them that were controlled by the breakaway regions, were basically just Russian puppets.
And we promised it wouldn't, right? There was a hard red line. You've got the memo.
No, that's not.
I think it was from, was it Burns to Condoleezza Rice? That was like, under no circumstance should you add Ukraine to NATO. It is a hard red line. Like, I can't remember. Niet means niet. It was something like that. Like, do not do it.
The U.S. never wanted to add Ukraine to NATO. The only reason Ukraine's future in NATO and shit is because they didn't want to, like, create any kind of chilling effect from other countries from being able to ask. But, like, no, the U.S. didn't want Ukraine to join NATO. Partly because that in the Budapest Memorandum, it literally said stuff about how, like, the United States would remain neutral, but, or, like, that, yeah, like, that was part of America's whole thing about Ukraine joining NATO. But America didn't even push NATO expansion either. It was Eastern European countries that pushed to be included in NATO.
Do it. We've known for a long time that this would trigger somewhat of a disaster. Correct me if I'm wrong. Cut to, we've had numerous opportunities to take an off-ramp prior to this Russia's...
We know Ukraine was never admitted into NATO.
But they wanted to be.
Yeah, sure they did. Why did they want to be in NATO? Ask her why, Sam. Ask her why they wanted to be in NATO.
To be admitted to NATO, which is what
Ukraine did want to be. We also had an obligation from '93 to provide defense for Ukraine in exchange for them to give up their nukes.
Sam, that does not have to do with Putin saying, I don't want them to go to NATO.
Well, they didn't go to NATO.
But they... Okay, so what...
They're not in NATO now.
What triggered? So what triggered? So in the Minsk Accords, what triggered Putin's invasion? Tell me.
What? Why is she obsessed with the Minsk Accords?
What triggered it?
What triggered his invasion in the Minsk?
So we blew the Minsk Accords. We had an opportunity to reinvigorate that in 22, to fix that whole situation.
Not really. Russia had unreasonable asks that Ukraine was never going to... What?
And it didn't fell apart.
Also, are they just using like AI results? Off-ramp debated in January and February 2022 included assurances of a formal pledge that Ukraine would not be admitted to NATO in the near future, addresses Russians' demand for security of Russia arms control, restricting deployment. Yeah, this was basically leave Ukraine entirely on their own so that Russia could, in the future, easily roll over them. Reviving of the 2014 to 2015 Minsk agreements, which would have provided a special status for the separatist-held territories of Donetsk and Luhansk within a unified Ukraine. Oh, yeah. Yeah, a special status, which would have allowed Russia to control them. All of this is just unreasonable. Like, all this is just, let's just give Russia whatever they want. And this is what we should have done. Just give Russia what they want.
Fell apart. There was an opportunity.
So you're justifying the invasion of Ukraine because...
No, I'm not justifying it. I've been on the record saying I think Putin is a monster. I think there were opportunities to negotiate this before...
I mean, she basically is justifying it. This is like the whole bullshit about how, wow, war is bad. So let's just give Russia whatever they want to avoid a war. Let's just do appeasement. Like, Jillian would have been cheering when Chamberlain got off the plane and said, peace in our time.
It got this far. I don't know how. How would you get Putin out of Ukraine at this point? He's arguably winning. What's the leverage?
I don't know if he is winning. I don't know.
He is not winning.
Seems like it. So what's the leverage now? We had more leverage in 22. We don't seem to have it.
We had more leverage in 22 with whom? With Ukraine or
with Russia before they were what appears to be winning.
What was our leverage with Russia?
What did Putin want? What did he want? He said, "Do not add." Let's look it up.
Let's look
it up. Let's look it up. What happened? What was his ultimatum in 2022?
I think he wants Ukraine.
Yep, he does.
That's not what caused his invasion, though. We had an opportunity to negotiate.
Oh my God, I'm so glad that Sam doesn't have like a stupid position here. I feel like Emma would
negotiate that situation in 2022. So
I think he wanted Ukraine, and I think that's what it is. I mean, I think that's why you have countries like
invading Ukraine in.
Oh, which clanker is she asking, and what's her prompt? Because any good clanker worth its salt, if she's not using like any clanker that is good, will tell you that Putin wanted Ukraine. The thing that caused Putin to invade Ukraine is because he wanted to take it. Like, I mean, fuck, you know what? Let's have a little fun here, okay? What's her prompt?
Let's
Ukraine.
See. What?
And I think that's what it is. I mean, I think that's why you have countries like
invading Ukraine in. Let's say.
What instigated Putin invading Ukraine in 2022, I guess we'll say.
Let's see if I can... Okay. Historical grievance.
Oh, I bet her AI's not set to extended thinking like mine is.
Historical grievances, deep-seated fears of Western democratic influence. Okay. Fear of Western expansion. Putin perceived Ukraine's pivot towards Western institutions, particularly the EU and NATO, as an existential threat to Russia's geopolitical sphere of influence.
Why does that matter? I mean, good for him. Who cares? Literally, that just goes back to the same thing that Sam was trying to get at. The only reason why this bothered him is because he doesn't want Ukraine to have any autonomy. Ukraine's not allowed to do what they want or to do what like they choose to do. Yandex AI. She's obviously on Vatnik GPT. I mean, it's funny. We're gonna see what what my AI says, because I feel like it's going to give like a better answer than this. No, it's not going to be historical agreement. What a weird, which AI is she using that would give an answer like that? Like the things that she's reading off isn't necessarily wrong. It's just that there's a bunch of other shit. Or did she just leave off like certain things? Putin's 2022 invasion of Ukraine was not instigated by one sudden Ukrainian action. The best supported explanation is that Putin chose to escalate an already running war because he wanted to force Ukraine back into Russia's sphere of control, prevent its durable Western alignment, and very likely replace or subordinate the Ukrainian state. The trigger he presented publicly was Donbass/NATO. The deeper motive was Ukraine's sovereignty itself. See, this is a better answer because my AI is not cucked to whatever the fuck it is that like this lines up with everything that my AI has kind of like been giving me. And I feel like generally speaking, my AI is good. Like if you have a good clanker that's reading from good, what the fuck is she using? Grok? The immediate pretext was that in February 2022, Putin recognized the Russian-backed Donetsk and People's Republic and Luhansk People's Republic, then claimed Russia was intervening to defend them. Yeah, he did that. And then like demilitarization and denazification. And then the clanker goes on to say these claims do not hold up very well. And it's linking directly to Putin's address. I wonder if it'll link to his 2021 address as well. Then we've got some OSCE reports in here. I don't know. I think this is a better answer. Basically, Putin wanted to maintain control over Ukraine. It must be a Russian clanker. All AI is evil. Hello, Epic. My AI could beat up your AI. I'm just saying, although I don't know what she's using. Like the answers, like I said, what she read out there isn't wrong, but it wouldn't surprise me if she is purposely omitting some answers from that. Or maybe my AI has a bias because that it knows me. I don't know. But generally speaking, I have asked my AI to provide me with sources that are or that I usually try to get it to give me nuanced answers on things. So
of influence and security. That's what I just said.
I understand.
That's what I just said.
I understand
eventually
that Putin says that it was because it's an existential threat to have an independent Ukraine to them. But I mean, I don't think that justifies an invasion.
I'm not telling you it justifies an invasion. I'm telling you there was an opportunity in
What would America should have done at that point? We had a pact with them to provide defense against
I wouldn't have continued expanding NATO. Seems like that was kind of a big deal.
What was the NATO expansion in that direction? As far as I know, most of what public officials in the U.S. were saying is that we're not going to expand to Ukraine.
When we promised, right, when was this? Reagan administration? We promised we wouldn't expand NATO. Would we add like 15 countries and put it all the way on their border? Yeah.
There was no promise to not expand NATO in that way. There was a promise to not move NATO into like East Germany before they invaded Ukraine. Yeah. The Russians also were demanding we kick the Baltics out of NATO, by the way, before that. Yeah, I know. It's just... AI can't be trusted. My good friend Cloud told me so. Or Claude told me so. Really? Really? Did he? Nice. By the way, the only reason why I was asking AI that is because Jillian Michaels was asking her AI that, and I was curious if ChatGPT would give a different answer. But I don't know what AI... is she using Gemini? Or did she just Google it? And then she got the Google Gemini answer. Because the Google Gemini answer is kind of shitty. Yes, NATO was only expanded because of Russia, because those countries were scared of getting invaded by Russia. They didn't want Russia fucking with them, so they begged to join NATO. Begged!
Yeah. Okay, so hold on. What did the U.S. promise Russia about NATO expansion? Wasn't this Reagan?
Oh, no. Oh, she's probably not paying for one, even though she... Listen, if you're going to use a fucking AI to find information on things, A, you should probably be paying for it, and B, you always have to... You need to have it set to, like, fucking extended thinking. And you should read the sources that it gives you. Don't just take what it says at face value. What? Let's see what happens when I Googled it. What did the U.S. promise Russia about NATO expansion? Is that what she said?
Yeah. Okay, so hold on. What did the U.S. promise Russia about NATO expansion? Wasn't this Reagan? What Gorbachev?
Oh God, is she going to cite the not 1 inch eastward thing? By the way, I asked my flanker about this, and it found the documents that had been released about like what was actually said in the room. Okay, this is what Google AI said. The U.S. made no formal, legally binding promise to Russia that NATO would not expand. However, declassified documents reveal that during the 1980 negotiations over German reunification, U.S. officials, including Secretary of State James Baker, floated the idea that NATO would not expand its jurisdiction eastward. I mean, this is not a... National Security Archive, NATO expansion, what Yeltsin heard. Isn't this different from what Gorbachev heard? Sarcasmatron is rolling in his early grave right now. True. Yeah, she's not paying for a clanker. A clanky? That's a funny way of saying it. AI is a satanic force. Okay. This is about the Partnership for Peace. That the Partnership for Peace was the alternative to NATO expansion. And this is what Yeltsin believed, rather than a precursor to it, while simultaneously planning expansion after Yeltsin re-election in 1996 and telling the Russians repeatedly that the future European security system would include, not exclude, Russia. Declassified U.S. account of one key conversation, October 22nd, 1990, document 8, shows U.S. Secretary of State Warren Christopher assuring, okay, this is not... NATO expansion, what Gorbachev heard. This is the one that matters. We have documents here. About NATO expansion in his meeting with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev on February 9, 1990. It was part of a cascade of assurances about Soviet security given by Western leaders to Gorbachev. Documents show multiple national security leaders were considering and rejecting Central and Eastern European countries' NATO membership in 1990 through 1991. And that discussions of NATO in the context of German unification, that discussion of NATO, the discussions of German unification negotiations in 1990 were not all narrowly limited to the status of East German territory, and that subsequent Soviet and Russian complaints about being misled about NATO expansion were founded in written contemporaneous comms and telcons at the highest levels. Do we think this is that Gorbachev like misunderstood what they were talking about here? Plus, there's also Gorby's statements from the 2010s when he denied that claim, but these people don't know anything. Yeah. The documents reinforce former CIA Director James Baker's criticism. Okay, let me see. What are these? Where are these documents? Let's see what her thing said.
Gorbachev heard. All right. Hang on. 1990 assurances. Is that it? Okay, James Baker told Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev that there would not be an expansion 1 inch eastward. Okay, so since then, we've added like 15 countries.
Yeah, but what is that? Is she just gonna literally cling on to this to this fucking quote and not like what was the context of that?
15 countries and we're about to move it all the way to their border. Like, probably just shouldn't have done that since then.
As far as I know,
country. You know, okay, let's see. Searching.
We did move.
We added 16 countries. After we promised not one inch. Here, since 1990, NATO was expanded to include 16 new member countries through 6 waves.
Yeah, because they asked. They begged. They literally begged.
Of enlargement, increasing its total membership.
I don't even know if this was a real promise, Pat. I don't think that it was. Yeah, all of it was about Germany. It was a deal made over German unification. That was my understanding also. Like, even if there were people like Russians in the room who maybe like took something else away from that. I mean, Gorbachev didn't seem to, based on like what he said later. And yeah, there was no written agreement. Oh yeah, that's also true. The Warsaw Pact was still around in 1990. Why the fuck would they have said not 1 inch eastward in terms of the expansion into like not even all of those countries? This was in 1990. All those countries, like all the countries were still in the USSR in 1990. It wasn't until like 91 that the breakup happened. It would have just been about Germany. Why would they have said anything about anything? That makes no sense.
Membership from 16 to 32. The expansion incorporated nations from Eastern Europe and the Northern region. And we put it right on the border there, which was a no-no. And we have, was it WikiLeaks or was it Julian Assange? What was it that leaked the memo from?
No one took something else from that. It's totally just a lie. You're trying to humor. Okay, all right. You know what? Fair. I guess I am. Yeah. It seemed like from the document, or there was this website has a bunch of shit where it was saying stuff like and I don't know why they're choosing to say it. Says the documents reinforce former CIA director James Robert Gates's criticism of pressing ahead with NATO with expansion of NATO eastward in the 1990s when Gorbachev and others were led to believe that that wouldn't happen. The key phrase buttressed by the documents is led to believe. Like, yeah, I'll have to go through and read these documents, but it really wouldn't make sense for like the USSR to be worried about NATO expanding into a bunch of republics that were at the time still part of the USSR. Like, none of these countries had left. As far as I'm aware, I don't like the breakup of the Soviet Union was not for Ukraine. It was in 91. Yeah, December 1991. So the Soviet Union didn't like break up until like a year after they were having these talks. So I don't know why they would have. It's not like they knew this was going to happen. It was promised, even if it was promised to the USSR, why Russia's separate country has the right to expand on that promise. They were part of USSR, but Ukraine was part of USSR as well. Yeah. An argument between Epic and Jillian would last 2 minutes before she stormed it. Yes, probably. Does he call her retarded, which would be based? Yeah, because this was... Unless Baltic republics. Oh, these countries were like pushing for reform. Okay. All right.
From Burns to Condoleezza Rice saying, no. I'm just saying. So if you're going to say Trump is a president of war, I don't actually agree with you. I don't think so.
I'm talking about Iran.
Okay, let's talk about Iran.
We attacked Iran. We did. We did not attack Russia.
True.
You understand? You're comparing providing defensive weaponry to Ukraine
is this
to literally bombing another country.
My feeling on Iran right now is that we don't really know how it's going to turn out. So far.
What do you mean we don't know how it's going to turn out?
Okay,
we already know right now
I don't agree with you.
that we have killed...
My boss is oddly obsessed with Mearsheimer. He's like the Finkelstein of Ukraine, Russia, maybe worse, honestly. Yeah, that's actually good. Yes, you see, this is all calling the USSR Russia causes and calling the Soviets Russians. You in the West don't even question it. No, I mean I understand what you mean by that. It's not that I'm questioning or not questioning it or whatever. It's that I've forgotten. Listen, I'm not great at remembering year dates, and I used to be, but I don't always remember exactly, like when did the Soviet Union fall and shit like that. Like it was in December 1991. That's when the dissolution officially occurred. But yeah, I just don't think Sam knows that much about this. At least he didn't agree with her about the NATO expansion shit, though.
Thousands of civilians. We have expended.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hello. It's you.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because I feel like nobody who talks about this has like any fucking idea what they're talking about. So I just want to add something
True. That's true. Yes. Go
on.
I
just want to add something that, first of all, this is just important housekeeping, I guess. To everyone saying, why does it deal with the Soviet Union? Why, like, it's not Russia? It is Russia. Russia is the successor to the Soviet Union. Any treaty signed with the Soviet Union applies with Russia. Russia got the Soviets' UN Security Council seat. This is why in America, in the English-speaking world, we generally use Russia and the Soviet Union interchangeably, because when the Soviet Union broke up, Russia took on the status as the successor state. That's why treaties we signed with the Soviet Union, like the 1983 nuclear treaties, still applied with Russia. That's why Russia gets the Soviets' UN Security Council veto. And that's why we don't refer to Ukraine as like the Soviet Union as Ukraine, because Ukraine isn't a successor state. So that's something that maybe some Ukrainians might not like hearing, because, I know like that kind of legitimizes the Soviet occupation, but that is just a fact of international law.
Yeah, but the Warsaw Pact still existed when they were having those talks. So with regards to, and like, so all those countries, like, it's not, none of those countries were going to.
I'm just laying the groundwork for why. Yeah, I'm just laying the groundwork for why it's not a good argument that a deal made with the Soviet Union doesn't apply to Russia. That is literally not how international law works. Russia is the legitimate successor to the Soviet Union. Therefore, any deal made with, so that's not a good argument. The actual argument is that these were treaty negotiations specifically about, so Germany, the Berlin Wall came down and East and West Germany were reintegrating, and the Warsaw Pact, vis-a-vis the Soviet Union, wanted to make sure that NATO would not expand military infrastructure into East Germany. And there's a very, 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 very specific reason that these talks were happening that has to do with geography. If you want to type into Google, Fulda Gap, Fulda Gap, that is a piece of terrain that separated East and West Germany, where there was relatively flat land, but it's a relatively narrow corridor. Most of the Cold War fighting, had the Cold War gone hot, would have been through the Fulda Gap. And the reason this is important is because if you want to maneuver tanks, which is something that the Soviet Union relied on heavily, and Russia today still relies on heavily, is using tanks to achieve military objectives, you need relatively flat terrain. So almost all of the high-intensity fighting would have been channeled through this relatively narrow piece of flat terrain in Germany called the Fulda Gap. The problem for the Soviets, if we had militarized East Germany after unification, is that would have put all of our forces east of the Fulda Gap. So now, instead of the Soviets having to defend this little tiny valley in southwest Germany, where they could have relatively few forces hold back all of NATO, now NATO would be on the other side of this narrow corridor in the relatively flat plains of eastern Germany, where they could break out into Poland in a million different ways. And it was a huge problem for the Soviets. So they wanted to make sure that NATO forces stayed west of the Fulda Gap. So if there was a war between NATO and the Warsaw Pact, they could meet us at the at our exit point of the Fulda Gap and contain the fighting to that piece of terrain. It was always about that specific geography problem when it comes to defense planning. It was never about anything else. And everyone negotiating understood that at the time. And we just pretend that's not the case now. And it drives me insane.
Oh, interesting. I just looked it up on Wikipedia. There's like maps here and stuff. Theoretical attack routes through the Fulda Gap.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of the Cold War planning was about fighting through the Fulda Gap. That was the whole, like, for 60 years. So when Germany was unifying, keep in mind, East Germany, part of the Warsaw Pact, so the Soviets do have a veto, right? Because it's kind of a satellite of the Soviets. So we needed Soviet permission to get East Germany to integrate into West Germany and unify Germany. We also needed Soviet permission because the treaty that Germany signed when they surrendered made the Soviets a stakeholder in Germany if they ever were to reunify. So in order for the Soviets to give their permission for East Germany to unify with West Germany, we needed to give certain guarantees to the Soviet Union that we would not move NATO forces east of the Fulda Gap. That is what this negotiation was about. That's what 1 inch eastward is talking about. It had nothing to do with anything else. And again, everything I just said is just objectively true and easily verifiable. And it drives me insane that a lot of people who discuss this stuff, like that fucking retard woman that is being interviewed by the retard person, neither of these people would know what the Fulda Gap is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, debate. But neither of these people would even know what the Fulda Gap is, which is crazy because this is something that's taught in high school in America. Fulda Gap is in high school history Cold War textbooks. Maybe it's like AP history, I guess. Maybe it's because I come from California and we have better schools. I don't know. But this is shit I learned in high school before I even went to the military stuff for university. Like, this is very basic, important Cold War, basic history stuff. It's not like advanced or high level.
I was just gonna say, I feel like maybe we did learn this in my survey course, in my like US History 2 survey course, and I just forgot about it because it was like a bazillion years ago. But
or even if you play RTS games about the Cold War, there will be like every single game will have a map named Fulda Gap. Like it's even in pop culture. Like I think there's movies about fighting over the Fulda Gap. It was like the center of the entire Cold War was what was happening at the Fulda Gap. Like that was the whole defense planning of the entire 60 years of the Cold War was who has dominance over the Fulda Gap. That and we just it just gets forgotten today when we talk about these negotiations.
Well, yeah, of course it does. Yeah, I mean, well, I learned something today, although maybe I knew it before, but and I forgot about it. I don't know. These are not things that I tend to remember. Then again, I mean, oh, okay, yeah. How many people in chat? Wait, hold on. I'm curious. All right, chat. Don't lie, okay? Start a poll.
I'm also going to put in your side chat, these are major armor divisions from the United States Army and the Soviet Army deployed to Germany. And as you can see, these are all located in and around the Fulda Gap. So if we imagine that all those American, like 3rd Armored Division, which by the way, if you see 3rd Armored Div there, 3rd Armored Division is what it was during the Cold War, America's premier armor corps. That was their most powerful armored division. And that would have been like the fist that would have punched into the Warsaw Pact. If you imagine us relocating all those forces to the east of Germany, now on the border with Poland, where it's relatively flat terrain that tanks can maneuver easily. This is a security crisis for the Soviets. Kind of like it would have been a crisis when the Soviets tried to put missiles on Cuba, and we said absolutely not. There are certain red lines from a military planning picture you just cannot allow, and that was one of them from their end.
Okay, hold on. Oh, you put it in the side chat. Ooh. Oh my God. Yeah, okay, I see. So they've all got like there's a particular formation to like where everybody is located. That's interesting. Okay, the 33% of my chatters so far, oh, it's 31% who are American are saying yes, they did know about it before you explained it. But we're a minute in. Let's wait a bit. But okay, yeah, I did not know about that. I kind of want to look at more of these documents or whatever, but it does seem like all of this stuff is just shit about memorandum of conversation between James Baker and
Yeah, I mean, there would have been nothing else to talk about. Like it's 1990, the Soviet Union has not collapsed. The Soviet Union doesn't even look like it's going to collapse. Nobody in 1990 could have told you that in less than 2 years there would be no Soviet Union. That you would have needed a time machine. Nobody knew that. The Warsaw Pact existed, right? So what was east of Germany is Poland, and what was Poland part of? The Warsaw Pact. And Poland's government in 1990, before the solidarity movement in Poland that led to the peaceful revolution where they voted out the communists, had a Soviet aligned government. Nobody in 1990 was thinking that Poland would ever join NATO. It was a firm member. That'd be like today if as part of peace negotiations with Russia, we made the demand that Russia can never add Germany to the collective security organization, Russia's version of NATO. It would be we wouldn't be having that discussion in the first place. And again, it is only historical illiteracy of like basic high school level concepts that allows these arguments to work. You have to not know why we were having these negotiations. You have to not know what year they were happening, and you have to not know what the map of in 1990. And you have to not understand like the geography at this view. Again, this was about the Fulda Gap. It was about American military forces not being able to forward deploy into East Germany. That was it. There was nothing more to it. And there would have been no reason to discuss anything else unless Gorbachev had a time machine and could see into the future. But if he could see into the future, I would have imagined he probably would have handled things differently and the Soviet Union probably wouldn't have collapsed in the first place.
Yeah. And also you said later on he said that that there was, or that like that's not how he understood those talks to go anyway.
Yes, he was asked this question by, I think it was Fox News in 2014. He said no such promise was ever made. And he made it very clear that no one in the Kremlin understood that to be a promise more broadly than just Germany. Yeah. There is zero credible basis to make the claim that this was anything other than Germany. It is literally just Russian revisionist propaganda being repeated by lefty dictators. That is all that's happening. It's like,
yeah.
I cannot stress, like you're giving it way too much credit when you're like, oh, maybe there's some basis. No, there's not. There is no basis.
Oh yeah, no.
Just
all right.
lies.
Understood, friend. I see. Yeah, Mikhail Gorbachev. Oh, damn! I didn't realize he lived until 2022. Jesus.
Yeah, unfortunately, he died before he saw. I would have felt bad if his last 2 years he saw what happened to Russia in the last.
Yeah, like god damn. It's
yeah.
He. Oh, I'm sure there's probably stuff in here about like post USSR life or Oh, he was starting to be critical of Putin from 2008 to 2022. Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he's kind of lucky he died of natural causes when he did. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Russia can only succeed through democracy. Russia is ready for political competition, a real multi-party system, fair elections, and regular rotation of government. This should define the role and responsibility of the president. He said that in 2017.
Yeah,
okay.
He was a pretty decent man, all things considered, as far as leaders of the Soviet system went. I mean, it's not like he was perfect, but
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, so most of the non-Americans didn't know about it, but most of the Americans did did know about it before you explained it. So
okay,
yeah,
that makes sense. Because like I said, this is high school history stuff. Like this is stuff you're expected to know if you graduate high school in most states in America.
Oh, wait, no,
So-
hold on. It's split. 30% of not Americans said yes, and 30% of not Americans said no to knowing about it versus not. But yeah,
I bet you that 30% of non-Americans are all Finnish. Okay, I'd be willing to die on that hill. The Finns
Or
are just they're the best
Israelis.
Europeans. Well, I mean, of the Europeans, the Finns are the best. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
they're the most. They're the ones I never
Wait, what
disrespect the Finnish because they'll kill you in your sleep. Okay.
I see. Wait, Windmill Stalker, where are you from? I would actually expect most of I would expect most of the yeses here to probably be Europeans. Oh, is that Odin? I think I hear Odin.
I'm taking Odin to a dog park. You're hearing other dog, which I should probably let you get back to your thing. But I'll be listening if you have any other questions. But just needed to. That's like a core thing that just isn't talked about. So
Yeah, I
just
know
wanted
you.
to-
You were I understand. Thank you for the info, buddy.
Yeah.
All
Of
right.
course. Have a good one.
Yeah, bye. All right. Of course, Epic has a soft spot for the people who sided with Germany in World War II. What? Oh my god. Finland didn't side with... Did they? I thought Finland was part of the Allies. Would they not have been? Or maybe they... I don't actually know that much about... Oh, you did? You thought what? No, but Finland got invaded. Yeah, I know Finland got invaded by the USSR. Yeah, I know about the Winter War. Listen, during the Winter War, Germany and Russia were on like not bad terms, right? Oh yeah, I know Norway. They allied with Nazi. Wait, did the Nazis send them you know what? I'm gonna go read about that later. I feel bad that I don't know very much at all about the general like course of World War II, or like I have like sort of vague ideas about it and like who did what or whatever. Yeah. They were basically held hostage to work with the Germans because they had a common enemy and the Germans offered help. I see. Yeah. Okay. And I'm assuming that the Allies were busy and couldn't be bothered. Suddenly people can understand siding with it. All right, I'm going to end the poll. Or actually, maybe, you know what? We'll just keep the poll going for a little while. Yes, we just wanted to survive. You know what? Fair.
Suspended.
With thousands of civilians, we've killed thousands of Iranian civilians on the street.
We've killed thousands of Iranians, yes.
Civilians or the IRGC?
Civilians. I don't think that's controversial at all.
Really? All right, team, have we killed thousands of Iranian civilians? I know there was...
Are they just using... 1,000,
I know there was some skepticism over a school.
There's skepticism over that school?
Yes, because...
Not anymore. This is from the 20th of May, by the way. There is no skepticism. Like, didn't the US literally admit that they bombed the school? I mean, well, apart from Trump, who apparently was saying some weird shit.
I don't even think the U.S. government has denied it. They just said that it
they've said that they think that it was probably an IRGC missile potentially hitting the school. And there's no defined answers. I tried to find it. How many?
What? Well, this is from the 19th of May. Okay, at this point, I thought it was pretty much like everyone realized that it was a school strike, or that it was the U.S. that did it. Sorry, Bad Bearing. We're almost done with this.
How many?
My God. I mean, the level of delusion
Really?
to argue that somehow we're not engaged in a war and that it could work out okay.
I do think it could work out okay,
like
Sam.
you're to the right of you know,
the U.S. killed
significant portion of the Republican Party. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Let's see. How many civilians have we killed? Okay. So how many do you think it is?
Oh, hey, Con. Hey, Stu. Stuart's not here. I should, actually, I think I do know where he is. Why is there expectation of zero collateral damage? It is insane. No, I agree. That's fucking stupid. It's dumb. Yeah, unfortunately, civilians are going to die. The school strike was a fuck up. It was not they intentionally did it on purpose. It was someone fucked up. Like, again, we're back to this whole nobody understands how war works, and America and Israel are literally just like bombing civilians in Iran because they choose to, because they're evil. But no one gives a shit when Russia does it.
How many do I think it is?
Yeah.
I think we've killed probably thousands.
Okay, the Manab school strike is the first thing that comes up. The primary incident under U.S. military investigation.
Kalinda defends me and Doomy as collateral damage. No. When Iran is firing missiles at Israel, they are, as far as I'm aware, at least, like they just don't care, which I actually think is quite a bit different. I think that falls under a category of more maliciousness. Like if you're literally just lobbing rockets or like fucking ballistic missiles at another country and you're aiming for city centers and shit, then at that point, yeah, you're like doing war crimes. It's not, you're not, there is no distinction or anything. Leftists selectively understand how war works. True. Basically, when the war is being fought by a country that they like, in the coming war with China, if there is a war with China, leftists will defend China's potential bombings of like Puerto Rico or Hawaii by claiming that China was not actually aiming at civilians. And then they will attack America's bombings of the Chinese mainland by claiming that America was aiming at civilians. Jesus. Can't even top the deaths from January. True!
Military investigation is the strike on an all-girls school near Manab, which killed at least 156 to 175. Okay, urban strikes. Independent documentation from news outlets like the Mehr News Agency notes specific incidents, like an attack on Tehran's Nilofar Square. I don't know if this is us, that killed 20 civilians.
Human Rights says 1,700 civilian deaths, civilians. Tens of thousands have been wounded, supposedly. I mean, I don't think
Tens
we can
of
know
thousands
exactly.
of civilians or IRGC? Which I don't really, to be honest, I don't really feel bad if the IRGC, who's hanging teenagers, I don't really feel bad if they're being killed. I'd rather see the IRGC not beat women to death for their hair sticking out of their.
I feel like it's worth mentioning that we Finns also fought a war with the Nazis. It was after we made peace with the Soviet Union. Yeah, no, that's fair. Hey, Alex, and hey, everyone else. Hello, Duckbringer.
Sticking out of their hijab or engage in sexual torture. Like, I don't really feel bad about the IRGC.
That's exactly how we were sold to go into Afghanistan, too.
But we don't, Sam, we don't have boots on the ground.
In Afghanistan.
We've lost 14 million soldiers. We're in the...
Wait, hold on. Was that what people were saying with regards to going into Afghanistan? I thought the main thing was catching bin Laden.
We're in the process of a negotiation, are we not? 14 soldiers? Our soldiers?
Oh, I thought you said 14 million.
14 soldiers.
We've lost, we're spending billions upon billions of dollars.
First of all,
that I know you were so concerned about.
Okay,
we're going to end up
do you know
exactly
that that's a
the best
fraction
place
of
we
just
could
the
end
fraud
up
in California?
JPCOA.
Just a fraction.
Oh my God. Oh no, she's talking about California. Oh no.
Just a fraction of the fraud in California. I do think. Tell me something. I have a question for you. Why would Iran enrich uranium to up to 60%? Why? We have that independently verified.
Why would they? Why would they store it?
Why would they enrich it? Why would they enrich it to up to 60%? Why?
Because it's leverage.
Well, you want them to have that leverage? I don't want them to have that leverage.
They didn't start to do this until Trump unilaterally got out of the JPCOA.
That is not true.
It is true.
No, it isn't.
And they built up their stockpiles. They
so Iran has never been a threat. They haven't chanted death to America. They haven't had a nuclear program. It hasn't.
Oh, yeah, okay. So now she's going to be the one who is, like, I guess, making true points, but she's probably still going to sound stupid. I fucking, like, just with regards to, Sam is insanely stupid if he thinks that, like, Iran was of no threat to, although honestly, I wouldn't even argue about it being Iran being a threat to America specifically, because they're not really a threat to America. Because they are really far away and they can only do so much. But they are a threat to regional stability, which does impact the rest of the world in terms of like gas prices and whatnot. And in that way, they're like a threat to America. And they would like to be the regional hegemon, which wouldn't really be great if they became that. Not just because they have like terrible values or what have you. And they're not like allied with the West, so they can't really be bullied by the West. But yeah. But she's not informed to properly debate bring. Yeah, I know. I agree, Moki. Like, this is not like the right argument. But this is the problem though, right? Is if you tell most Americans Iran's main threat is that they are a threat to like stability in the Middle East. Like Iran is the key destabilizing force of Middle Eastern stability. If you tell that to most Americans and then you say, and this is why they should be taken out because it will make the Middle East a better place overall. If you tell it to most Americans, they're going to be like, why should I give a fuck? Because, yeah. And, like, I mean, realistically speaking, that's also part of the reason why maybe it might not be worth it for America to do. Or if America's going to do that war, they have to actually fucking do that war. Instead of being fucking stupid about it, having, like, a shitty plan, thinking it was going to be over in 5 minutes, and then panicking when Iran did the thing that everyone knew they were going to do, which is close the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah. Eventually, the Middle East situation affects the USA. Yeah, I know it would. It would like it affects stuff like gas prices and whatnot. I'm aware. But yeah, it's not. But there are lots of things that also affect gas prices, like the war in Ukraine impacted gas prices as well.
It hasn't been a problem for years.
They haven't had a nuclear program outside of starting.
Why did they? So they enriched it because of Trump. Okay, so that's the reason.
No, they didn't enrich it because of Trump. Trump was the one who took us out of the deal. That if we're lucky, we will
Why
get
did he
back
take us
to.
out of the deal, Sam?
Because he resented that Obama signed it. I have no idea.
Sam,
because
that's not
there
why.
were also people.
Oh no, that's definitely why. That's definitely why Trump personally wanted to do it. And then other people told him other reasons to remove the US from the deal. But I'm willing to bet that that was the main reason why he wanted to do it. Because Trump just was like dead set on undoing everything that Obama did.
People in his administration.
Because he's a fucking he's a petty bitch
who wanted to have more of a conflict with Iran, and it wasn't until his second term when he had no toadies that he was able to. And so Iran, had they a nuclear weapon, I think we probably would not be bombing them.
Insurance premiums are what cause shipping prices and therefore gas prices to go up, by the way. Yeah, I know. At least with regards to gas that's shipped through the Strait, yeah. I know about what's going on with shipping, yeah. Yeah, I know, insurance prices. Oh, God. And wait, hold on, listen again.
Administration who wanted to have more of a conflict with Iran, and it wasn't until his second term when he had no toadies that he was able to. And so Iran, had they a nuclear weapon, I think we probably would not be bombing them.
Yeah, probably not, but it also wouldn't be good if Iran had a nuclear weapon, Sam, for a whole shitload of reasons. I wonder if she's smart enough to address this.
That's true. We probably
and
would
so
not be.
It is the most rational thing in the world for them to pursue that.
Well, I personally do not want.
Unless they get the benefits. And they've put on the table on multiple occasions already deals. In fact, the PM of Oman, who was doing the negotiation, said that Iran had made a deal to get rid of all of their enriched uranium, that they would not stockpile. They would only, excuse me, let me finish.
Okay.
They would only enrich uranium at a level that was necessary for a civilian nuclear power program.
They just said they wouldn't do that.
And Witkoff and Kushner, for whatever reasons, some speculate because they didn't come with any experts on nukes. Some speculate because Jared Kushner has a lot of interest.
Sam is for nuclear democratization. Oh, you mean Sam's in favor of like tiny countries ruled by crazy like authoritarians with insane ideologies being able to get nukes just so the US can't like bomb them, or like they can't be bombed by other countries. Yeah. Yes, let's just let everyone get nukes. I'm sure that won't go wrong at all.
A lot of interest outside of that room that he is working for. I don't know what the answer is to either one of those, but we do know that this offer was put on the table
the deal,
before the United States attacked.
Okay, so you're saying Iran never violated the JCPOA? Never.
I don't know if they never violated, but they certainly didn't increase their uranium productions. I'm sure on some level there were probably specific technicalities.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they did, but really the JCPOA was like they were playing games. They didn't mean it. And they even talked about how it was a game. I think there's the interview with that one Iranian guy who I believe after the deal was over, he talked about it. Yeah, like it wasn't, they weren't serious. It was literally just like a can kicking thing.
30 metric tons in 2016 of heavy water stockpile that I guess
Also, a really big important thing here. Listen, if Iran got a nuke, they still wouldn't, like, they would still be many years off from being able to deliver that nuke to bomb the US with it. But you know who they could bomb? Israel. And it's entirely fair for Israel not to want to take that chance. Or at least I'm pretty sure that they would be years off, because you have to have like, and also the US probably would have the air defenses to shoot it down. So I don't necessarily think the US would be in any danger of getting nuked by Iran. But that doesn't mean that Iran wouldn't be able to use that nuke on Israel. And Israel's got reasons to be worried about that, because Iran's crazy and constantly talks about how they want to destroy them.
I guess you used to enrich uranium. Advanced centrifuge development in 2016, 2017. Systemic deliberate breaches of the deal in 2019 and 2021. Following
the deal was
exceeding
broken.
enrichment purity caps.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't even about, yeah, like what Mokid was saying. It's not, it was the fact that like there was a bunch of flaws.
Caps JCPOA strictly limited uranium enrichment.
Because a lot of it was just can kicking. Because like it was not a permanent thing.
Enrichment to 3.67, and they had enriched to 20% in 2018. What do you mean this happened under Trump? This has been happening. It's been happening. I don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. I don't. So it's one thing to say they don't have one. Okay, but then just tell me why then are they violating the JCPOA before Trump?
It was Trump unilaterally left it.
Unilaterally left it? What do you mean?
He quit. He quit it.
Why did he quit it though, Sam? You know, Obama gave them pallets of cash.
I do. Oh God, the pallets of cash thing. I do just want to say that I don't think that it's good that Trump just like up and like left that deal, just because it's not good. Like that's harmful to America's reputation to just be like, well, I'm out. Like it's going to make other countries not want to trust you. And he also left the Paris Climate Accords too.
Of cash, right?
Oh, do you know how much cash they made? Twice that in selling their oil in the wake of our bombing.
Well, this is one of the reasons that if Trump can get China to buy oil from us, that's a nice little checkmate without us having boots on the ground. I would actually like to see, I think the Iranian regime is a cancer. I think they're the #1 funders of terror. I think they're evil in the atrocities that they commit.
Terror? What,
they don't fund Hamas. They don't fund Hezbollah. Really? They're not the #1 funders of terror in the world?
I meant international terror that would implicate us.
What? Oh, okay. So I guess it doesn't matter that the terrorism that they fund. Also, she forgot the Houthis. That the fucking destabilizes the Middle East. By the way, also the Houthis, international terror, the fucking Red Sea blockade. Remember that? Although I bet you probably just blame all of that on Israel.
They fund terrorist organizations. I'm not for it.
They fund. I mean, I don't know. Hezbollah is more of a militia and a paramilitary.
Okay. Do they fund those groups though? Yes.
Oh, she finally said the Houthis. Bring up the Red Sea blockade. That had like international implications.
Yes, they're the #1. Okay, they're the top disrupting force in the Middle East. Why would the Saudi?
In what manner?
Well, you tell me. Why does the Saudi crown prince say?
I think a lot of people would suggest that Israel is the top disruptive force.
Stop! No, they're not. Israel responding to bad shit that people do to them is not them being the top disruptive force. Maybe if people stop fucking with them, then they wouldn't like what? I thought that, hold on, Johan. I thought that the JCPOA was actually a deal that was like put through by Congress, was it not? Like, I remember there being a big thing about, because McCain talked about how he voted against it. Yeah, a multilateral agreement. Okay, well, listen, even if it wasn't, it doesn't matter. It's still not good for the U.S. to pull out of agreements that it's part of. Oh, because the Republicans didn't want to do it. Okay. Well, regardless, I still don't think it's good for the U.S. to pull out of agreements that it joined. Or like that it had joined with other countries. Yeah, okay. So they should have yeah, I can see why a proper treaty would require the Senate and all that, because then presidents can't just undo treaties.
Why did the Saudi crown prince say that the Ayatollah was like Hitler? Why? If he's
because
such a...
Oh, Sam doesn't care about what MBS has to say.
He has a rival country and is in competition for
so the Abraham
in that
Accords,
region.
If this regime ended up falling and you could expand the Abraham Accords, do you think that's a bad thing? If they were incapable of funding terrorist organizations, do you think that's a bad thing? If Iran never was able to get a nuclear weapon, do you think it's a bad thing? I just don't think it's a bad
dictator in Iran, would that be better? Is that what you're suggesting? Like the Shah?
I think it'd probably be the same. Oh, the Shah? Who are you talking about? Reza Pahlavi? I don't think that he's as nearly as bad as the Ayatollah.
I'm not saying you should install.
That is true. He wouldn't be as bad as the Ayatollah. Although, I mean, it seems like Iran would like to have a democracy, and that the Iranian people probably would do okay in a democracy. I'm not sure there's really any evidence that they would just vote in another insane right-wing Islamist government in the same way that that like other like Muslim countries do, because they seem to be pretty fed up with that right now, since that's what they've had since '79.
Should install a new Shah. I'm talking about the old Shah, his father.
I don't think his father was as bad as the Ayatollah. No, I do know that he had like secret police and all of that.
That is true. He was not as bad.
But I don't think he was as bad as the Ayatollah. No.
He was still pretty bad.
No.
And you do know that it was the United States that put him into power.
Let's actually relitigate that.
Oh my God. Are they really going to do this? Like, who cares? Yeah, the US did that a long ass time ago during the fucking Cold War. Why do we need to go over this again? The United States did a lot of crazy shit in the fucking Cold War. Why does this matter? I hate people like Sam who do this. They are perpetually fucking Cold War brained about like, oh my God, the United States, the CIA, they did a coup. They did all these things during the Cold War. Let's never forget about that because nothing has changed.
Litigate that for just a moment. So when did that happen? We went in
1950.
20 years, right? And when did it happen? 1950.
It was 53, I thought.
Right?
I think it was 53. Maybe it was 51.
Okay. So there's I actually watched the whole thing on this, and I would have prepared better for you. But 20-something years later, we weren't involved in that. 20-something years later, after we got involved.
In
79. That's 20-something years later.
Yes.
By the way.
Oh, well, yeah. The U.S. didn't. They were not involved in the 79 thing. Like
By the way, the guy that the Shah replaced was.
Oh yeah, Pat. I know. The United States ultimately took the action, but they took the action because that the British came to them and they were like, "Oh my God, Iran's leader is like a communist, and therefore you guys should overthrow him because he's gonna like nationalize the oil industry and our oil or something." I'm pretty sure that that's what wound up happening, and then the U.S. overthrew Mossadegh, who was like their social democratic leader. But I think that he was already starting to become unpopular, so he may have been overthrown anyway, but yeah. Oh yeah, Johan, I do just want to say Van Loven is correct here. Like the entire agenda since the 2010 midterms of the Republican Congress was to basically be a roadblock in the way of anything that Obama wanted. They just wanted to stop him from being able to pass his agenda. Like, remember, these were the same people who held a Supreme Court seat hostage until, because the election was happening soon, so that they could give it to Trump. And they didn't even know Trump was going to win. They just took that chance. You can say they were right on the JCPOA if you want, but I'm just saying it wouldn't have mattered whether or not Obama had brought them a better deal because they wouldn't have done it. Like Mitch McConnell, like he literally said, I believe he said in 2010 it was his goal to make Obama a one-term president, and he went out of his way to be maximally obstructionist against everything that Obama wanted to get done. So that's why there was no DREAM Act. Like everything that Obama managed to get through Congress, I believe, was all done like before the 2010 midterms.
Place was a horrible person. I remember I had a whole interview about this. Hold on. I didn't know we were going to talk about this. So
all right,
hold on.
It's all right. Let's not.
I mean, but hold on. Who did? He was like a horrible person that the Iranians hated. I know that we thought that he was like this really good guy, but he actually wasn't.
And getting rid of their Democrat.
Oh, Mossadegh? I don't know if the Iranians hated him or completely hated him, but maybe they did. Like towards the end, he was unpopular, I believe.
Democratic elected leader.
Sam, that happened in the 50s, though. The Ayatollah.
Yes, 30 years later, nothing matters. I get it. Honestly, there's no point in us.
I mean, I don't know why you feel the need. Like, what does it matter? It was or wasn't the U.S.'s fault. Who cares? That doesn't mean that doesn't mean that the Iranian Revolution was okay just because it happened like as a result of a coup that the United States did that put like a terrible authoritarian leader into power. That doesn't mean that it's cool that like what's the point of even mentioning this?
In us talking about
this. I'll tell you. It's actually really interesting.
Admittedly, this is a totally irrelevant sidebar, but it is kind of an interesting story. So if you want to know the history behind what really happened to Mossadegh, I have a link to it in the show notes.
I mean, I remember his name. Okay, Mossadegh, that's right. Okay, hang on.
I've run out of time. It's 4:30.
Okay. All right. Well,
do you have any more
thoughts
to where I or anybody on my show has offended you? I'm happy to.
Mossadegh's signature achievement. Okay, he created severe economic collapse. Retreat from democratic principles and power grabs. Like, Mossadegh actually wasn't this tremendous guy. I forgot this because it was about 6 months ago, so forgive me if I don't remember the details. But he turned out not to be a tremendous guy.
Okay, that doesn't mean that putting the Shah back into power was a good idea. I mean, maybe the Iranians, like, who knows what direction Iran would have taken if the U.S. hadn't intervened there. I don't... Like, did the Shah, was he planning to do a thing?
So,
Loner talked about this too. The CIA didn't make the Iranian military hate Mossadegh. They already did. Yeah, that's fine. I accept that.
What other tremendous guys do you think the United States should be overthrowing?
What I'm saying is that people did not actually love Mossadegh. So yes, I do know that it was mostly MI6, not necessarily the CIA, but we were involved. That did get involved in that coup. It was like 20-something years later, though, that the Ayatollah came to power. We weren't involved in that.
We weren't involved in the Ayatollah coming to power. No, it was because the Iranians overthrew their government.
Right. We're in agreement on that fact? I'm not quite sure exactly. Your argument is that Iran's enriching uranium because of Trump, that the JCPOA was perfect.
I'm saying that the JCPOA...
the facts don't show that, though.
Okay. Well, you're the only person
I just read them to you.
But I know you just read about it, so you must know.
Okay, so what's online?
She's doing coup. Yeah, she's just downplaying America's role in it because a lot of people just are. Yeah, I don't. It's weird. Like, I don't. Maybe the military would have done a coup. Who the fuck knows? But if they had have done that, would they have necessarily put the Shah in charge? I don't fucking know. Like, there's just, and yeah, sure, whether MI6 did it or not, or whether the US did it, I mean, Sam would still be making the same argument because the West did it.
It's online. I'll draw.
This is not a controversial statement. Everybody knows that Trump jumped out. The real issue that the neocons and your buddies, who are in favor of this attacking Iran and doing it because they're perceived
Sam,
as
we've lost 14 soldiers, which is terrible, but they've killed hundreds of Americans over the last 47 years.
Obama's deal did not go far enough in their estimation in terms of curbing Iran's, proxies, whether that was the Houthis or whether it was Hezbollah.
Why is everyone saying Houthis now? It's so weird. It's Houthi.
Or whomever. And
if Trump is successful
and there
in
has
striking
been
a deal with Iran, I think it would be a great thing. Will that happen? I don't know.
To get rid of Iran, and they finally found an American president who's willing to do it. And that's what this.
So what about the fact that the Saudis want to get rid of Iran? Do you just blame Israel?
No, I'm quite
or every single president that has said I'm going to deal with Iran, don't. Every single one. But like that, what about them? What about them? Just Trump.
The Iranians came to George W. Bush and tried to make a deal in the wake of 9/11 that was completely comprehensive. And in fact, not only did they do this, they brought the deal to the Swiss. The Swiss went to the United States and said, here's a big deal where Iran is willing to stop, fund
that they adhere to the JCPOA and Trump ruined it.
And
That's
the
not
Bush
true.
administration was so upset that there was a chance peace with Iran that they sanctioned Switzerland for even delivering the message.
What does that have to do with Trump? I didn't vote for Bush. What does that have to do with any of this?
It is the same agenda that has been operating, this hostility towards Iran. And Biden,
hostility towards Iran. So when they chant death to America, they've killed hundreds of Americans over the last 47 years.
Into the JPOC.
This is not a good argument. This whole we've been at war with Iran for 47 years shit is not a good argument. It's so stupid. Maybe Trump should have workshopped some better arguments if he wanted to actually go to war with Iran. But that was not a good one. They were 5 minutes away from getting a nuclear weapon was way better of an argument, except unfortunately, that one kind of got blown out of the water because the Operation Midnight Hammer was a thing, and they claimed previously that they had totally obliterated Iran's nuclear capability, except then it was like, oh wait, no, we didn't. Like, maybe,
POC is the JPCOA. And